Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the GeekVerse podcast, episode 665. I'm the Doctor, Trasnell, and I'm joined by...
I am the Alpha Hog, Kirkland Patzer.
And then Mark Caster, Dilmas.
I'm the Iodine, Taylor Field.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, man, we have a good one, I think, in store. I think this is going to be a very interesting review. You might be thinking, hey, did you guys review the others? Of course we did. If you want to know our thoughts before we get to the actual one, and maybe you're leading up to it, you're just here for the non-spoilers, we did review 28 Days and Weeks Later. They're on the Patreon. Go check that out, along with Mission Impossible, Superman, Fantastic Four. Those are our retro series this year, and there'll be some fun, just spin-off ones coming in the fall. But we did talk about those other two, so if you want our full in-depth thoughts, they're in there. I think the first one's a really good discussion, and then I think the second one is a very fun discussion, which leads to a lot of what ifs and like what would you do in this situation and stuff. So I'm glad people are listening to that and getting a kick out of that, and find out how Taylor would respond incorrectly. But I feel that, this one presents us some more opportunities, more conversations. So I'm gonna throw to the man who's seen it firstly. Who's seen it the longest? Mr. Musk, you saw it this afternoon before
The
us.
longest? I don't know if that's...
You've seen it for the longest, right? Out of all of us, you've seen it,
It's
long.
been stewing
way to
on it
put
the
it.
most.
Yeah.
You make it sound like I'm gonna have a more informed take, but now I feel like the pressure's on that I have to sound really smart and cool during this.
Well, I wasn't gonna throw to
Don't
Kirk
fuck it up.
because he just got home, so I was giving him time to sit on it.
Right, he's
I'm
still on
leaving
the
Taylor for
patio.
last because he's a 28 Days Later
Yeah.
zombie guy. So I throw to you because you've sat with it, and people already heard me intro, so they're already sick of me. So you're the perfect
thank
gateway.
you.
Yeah.
I'll take that baton.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't know where to start with this one. This is a crazy movie. I think that this is a series. If you go back to those retros, like I hadn't seen either of these movies until when did we do the first retro? Well, last month. So a month ago. Pretty fresh. And coming from both of them, like pretty lukewarm. The second one, like Luke cold even. Like it's not really my cup of tea. Didn't really love these movies, and so I was very excited to do this retro and go to this movie in like the coming months, talking about it on trailers and things like that. But then, after the retros, I'm like, okay, well, my hype level is a little bit lower. I think expectations are pretty low on this. And so I think I'm coming out of this, like, very happy and very surprised. And I think maybe one of the big reasons is that going back to that first movie, it's not perfect. We all talk about how, like, maybe kind of drags in the third act and stuff. But I feel like it was a very weird and different and pretty stylish movie in terms of like the music and the vibes of it, and even just the look. And we talked about like a lot of the camera tricks and things they used, and so it ends up having like a very unique vibe to it. And then the second one, I think the most disappointing part for me is that like it was kind of vibeless. Like it was just very generic, very by the book, kind of lost that style and replaced it with like no style whatsoever. And I feel like this movie kind of overcorrected. I feel like it's 10 to 20% too stylish. Like it's too much. It's like a scattershot of tons of stuff. The editing in this movie is fucking wild. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, I feel like most movies, if you give the editors like all the same shots, right? Probably 90% of the time, this is a random number off the top of my head. 90% of the time, you'll get like a mostly similar movie. But I feel like with this movie, you give this movie all the shots that they have to 100 different editors. I think you get 100 completely different movies just because it is all over the place. It's crazy. And I love that because it's super weird and different and makes me think about a lot of stuff. But there's also like several things that I really need when we get to the spoiler section. I need to just ask you guys about because I have no idea what some of these things are supposed to mean, if they're supposed to mean anything, what the deeper meaning is, if they're connecting on the story stuff in a deeper level. So ultimately, like, I come out of this, I'm like, I just love movies like this that give me a lot to chew on, a lot to think about, and I wasn't really expecting that after what the first two movies were. So yeah, I think there's some really great emotional depth that this movie goes to at certain points in times. I think some of the action stuff's really good. I think this movie, I mean, shot with what, like 36 iPhones at one time?
Yeah.
And
Oh
it looks
God, I
like it in
forgot
a
about
weird
that
way. Like this
fact.
movie looks so different than a lot of other things, and it brings back some Pink Floyd-y music from the first one. So, yeah, I'm pretty hot on this, but also it does feel like there's, like I said, kind of 10 to 20% too much style. Like there's so much grafted on to this, and I feel like maybe they could have pulled a little bit of it off to make it a little bit cleaner. So I don't know. It feels like a very murky situation here, but I'm very excited to break this one down. I think there's a lot to break down. This was an interesting ride.
Yeah, it's funny. I'll go, Kirk, and you think a little longer. It's funny you brought up the retro. This reminded me, and this probably spoils my thoughts for the movie, but this reminds me of when we did the John Wick retro and John Wick 4 happened. And I'm not sure where your level is, but for me, that was a retro series similar to this. Where like, okay, I like the first one. this one only has one fall, but still, I was like, all right, this is fine. But like, I was excited. I was more curious to see, like, it's been a long time for a sequel. Danny Boyle hasn't been in this world for a while. Alex Garland, like, fantastic writer director, he's back. So I was just more curious, and the trailers were really good. So I'm like, okay, can't wait to see this. And much like with John Wick, I was going into like, all right, I haven't loved this series, but let's see what happens. And that's exactly how it went with this. And John Wick 4 I ended up loving, and I end up loving this. I am in shock by saying this is my movie of the year. I loved Sinners,
Whoa.
but there's your spoil. I put this above
Wow,
Sinners. Yeah.
really?
Because for me, what I was not expecting, and Sinners has some of this too, but this movie is hardcore. This movie is nasty. It's dirty. It's mean. But then it's super, like, at times beautiful. And I don't mean by, oh, the shots of it. I mean like the storytelling and what these characters are going through and the messages they have. You know, like just like Myers Wars, it's mostly in the third act, but there's stuff where it's like, I was not expecting to be choking up during 28 years later. Not at all. Never had that on my bingo card. That happened to me multiple times in the third act, and it's beautiful. It has grace. It's very odd. Just like Dylan, you're talking about the style of the movie. The whole movie's odd, but in a good way. Where even after that beautiful stuff, right away, okay, something really crazy is going on. You know, so and they do the balance pretty much well. I have one minor critique, but my minor critique, I completely understand why they did it. It just feels like a little off. But no, and performances all around. I've said this before. I have to do a study that maybe Aaron Taylor Johnson is only great when he gets to do his natural accent. I'm thinking that's what it is, because I still haven't seen Craven, but in Craven, did he do like a Russian accent, or was he American?
Yeah.
Or okay, I like Bullet Train. This, I'm trying to think of other stuff, but I feel like those are times where like, oh, he's good. This is. I'm not like a big Aaron Taylor Johnson guy, so I can't maybe say this, but I think this is probably his best performance. Jodie Comer is fantastic in this. I'll find out the kid's name. He's fantastic. Ray Fiennes is fantastic. Like, across the board, there's certain things that I was wondering, because I feel like it's more of a chapter of the 20 years or days world. And it's like, okay, am I going to miss X, Y, and Z? And not at all. This showed like they, to me, completely adapted the universe well. They evolved it, which is great, because this almost feels like it has like, even visually, it sometimes looks a lot like how we talked about with 28 Days Later, where it looks very old and they use the type of camera where it's like, okay, this is a lot older than you needed to do in the late 90s, early 2000s. And same thing, this movie opens up, you're like, oh, it looks old. It almost looks like this should come out in like 2005, but that's what I love about it. But that's what's weird, is it's still the same writer. Not weird, it just shows how much time has passed. How great there. It's the same writer and same director, but there's at times where I'd go, oh, this is like something that grew up with 28 Days Later, and they had this in mind, like, oh, if I could make a sequel, this is what it would be. But no, it's just the two that started it. They've evolved, and they're just that damn good. I know everyone's talking about Bond directors right now. Danny Boyle almost directed a Bond movie. I very much want that now after this. I'm like, man, that to me is shot up my front runner. But no, across the board, sound design, visuals, like Dylan said, there is some wacky, crazy shots that take you out of it for a second, because I feel like it does remind you it's a movie, and at times it almost feels like a video game, some of these like slow motion action stuff. But I still wouldn't take it out, because it like that was a loud vehicle. There's two, my god. I wouldn't take it out because it adds some uniqueness to it. So yeah, this was a huge surprise for me, and I cannot wait for more. Please go see this movie so we can get. I know 2's at least happening, but they said 3 depends on this. Man, I am very much invested in this world, and there's still just everything they introduced. We have a lot to talk about. I'm very interested in the concept. So yeah, to me, absolute home run. Kudos to the team. Love this movie. So.
And with the second one, we know it's called the Bone Temple. If you're curious what the heck that means,
Yeah.
this movie will answer that for you. You will know what a Bone Temple is. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Will it
Kirkland's
though?
it.
Will it fully answer that? I feel like
You get shades of it. You get enough of it. You get enough
I
of it.
thoroughly enjoyed this movie, so that's like my quick review rating. But like I was very confused throughout. I feel like this movie has a lot of setup in it. Like we get introduced to a lot of just wild stuff. I feel like the third act, like we go through something, and then it's like, man, I can't wait to find out what's going on here. It's like, see you next time. Well, you know, we're getting the next movie, so I'm gonna hold my breath for it. But I think it, because I was
it's a
just
Dune
so
Part 1
I
situation
was
against
just so
Kirkland. I know what's
confused with
happening
the things that they're throwing at us, and it's not like just one big thing. It was a handful of them. Obviously, I'm going to save that for spoilers. But I think that just had me perplexed, even though I was like thoroughly enjoying everything about it. Like sound design, like you said, the shots, especially with the infected, were just upgraded from what the original was, and the original one had just a lot of unique camera work, and I think this one, it just feels like a modern version of it, and they did such a great job. There's a specific, I mean, it's in the trailer, so like I guess I'll kind of spoil it, but like when you have that sequence with two characters, and there's just like this chant that's going on, and it's just like as like just the like splicing to different shots. I was so disturbed and unsettled, and like nothing was even really happening. I felt like I was watching The Witch for
Yeah.
for a sequence, and yeah, I was so gripped by this film. Highly recommend watching it, but and then like yeah, like the last shot, I'm not even gonna say anything. I was just like, what is going on here? So yeah, I did really enjoy it, but it definitely, it's hard for me to give it like a perfect rating if I'm just this confused. I think, but like I don't know. I know I'm getting more, so I don't want to just judge it on that. But I don't know. It's it's tough to say right now because I don't want to say anything that might spoil something. But definitely recommend it. I think performances, especially by the lead. What was his name here? Alfie Williams. I like the young boy
man.
Spike. So fantastic as a lead. Like man, he like yeah. I felt like I was following him on this journey, and I was really impressed by just the performance and the situations that he was tackling. And yeah, no, I thought it was really solid. And if you haven't seen the other ones, I don't think you have to at all. Honestly, I think this is like a okay movie to jump in. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but yeah.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I feel like the later ones are gonna start to get more into the like, you probably should have seen them all. You know, I feel like they'll go that route. But this one, I feel like you could pick up and just they'll fill you in enough of what's going on.
They
'Cause
give you
I
a little
think
text at the beginning of like,
Yeah.
this is the situation.
And it's like minor spoilers, but it's all in the trailers. Like Aaron Taylor Johnson's teaching his son to hunt, and using that character as exposition is fantastic because he's just
Yeah.
quizzing his son. And what an awesome way! Because in most times, like, well, this is what happened. They sit down and say, no, it's okay. I've told you this. You know, you repeat it back to me. But for us, some of the stuff we know and some of the stuff we don't because it's been 20 years. So it was a great way to like, drop that exposition that felt very natural. And again, very video gamey. Danny
Yeah.
Boyle said Last of Us inspired like some of this. It's like this like the Last of Us game has all that over this. Like it feels like that at times. So
Yeah, I feel like video games would typically use like a character who has like amnesia to do that
Yes.
sort of thing, right? But this is just like, we'll just put a kid in that spot instead.
Mr. Field.
Yeah, this movie, I was thinking it would be one other complete different thing based on the trailers, and I am so happy the trailers do a dang good job at misleading, or at least not giving you enough context of what's going on when you actually sit down and watch this movie. That makes for a much better time, because trailers these days, they give you all the context, all the information, and then there you go. It is what it is. But this movie has a lot of surprises, and it has a lot of things that you see the scenes in the trailer, you don't have the context, you just don't know, and when you watch it, it's like, wow, this is totally different from what I was thinking, and it's really good. I like that this is that's a bit of a spoiler. It does a good job at presenting this is the problem, this is what we're dealing with, and then it carries on to how things have changed, and then it carries on to where things are going. And I think it does a great job at standing on its own. Like you said, Kirkland, you don't need to really watch the other two. If you watch this and this is your first time getting into it and you want more of this world, boom, there's two more that you can get into, and those two on their own, they stand for if someone is really engaged with this franchise, they can get at it, but they're also set for different type of audiences with different demographics, because they're both done very differently. The camera work in this completely caught me off guard when you get certain I'm not going to say because it's a spoiler, but just the way the camera turns at certain sequences, it's like, wow, I was not expecting that. And it's so unique because I don't know if I've ever seen something like that before. I feel like it again, you guys highlighted it, video games. It's right out of a video game when you do something specific, and it was really cool. I've never seen anything like that before on the big screen before. So I that being said, I think a little too much of that could be bad, but I think there was just the right amount that they threw in here. And you got something there, Travis, which
And
is
that's
exactly,
what they're rocking. When you're talking about, oh, I've never
yeah.
seen that before. There's never been anything like that before, like the table of 24. But it's so
Just
funny.
a
Had it
Yu-Gi-Oh
lower,
dual
too, for
disc
some
full of,
characters.
full of iPhones there.
It's
They
so
had it at
funny.
waist level a couple times.
Oh, they had lots of waist level cameras. But it's funny seeing this now, but now seeing the film, you exactly know how that works and what it's designed for, right? Because I think in their Discord we're talking about like, oh, why so many of this and that? But then the second that we have is like, oh, that's, cool, or, might have been some overuse, but still it's right
Title
away.
say
it gives
guerrilla filmmaking. That's bullshit. That's not guerrilla filmmaking.
I'd say
we're
that's
not-
guerrilla.
That's not guerrilla filmmaking.
No, just
Guerrilla
building your own like platform and putting cameras on it.
Yeah, but
You
like,
say
what's
that
their
as if
budget for
iPhones are
this?
like cheap and they just like fall out of like a cereal box, but those are pretty expensive.
We don't have that on our
No.
movies.
The definition of guerrilla filmmaking is like the first Evil Dead, where it's Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi, and a few friends, and they're out there for days, like legitimately getting like hypothermia because they're so fucking cold. They got no budget. Like that's like there. This is still a movie from Sony. Yeah, like that's. I would not say it's guerrilla making. It's I don't know. Again, because remember how this was pitched. Oh, it's just an iPhone, and everything we've seen from this, it's not just an iPhone. I appreciate it, but it doesn't make it any less cool. Just saying, that's not guerrilla making.
The other thing that I really really liked about this is the amount of world building that it's done. You don't get a lot of that in zombie flicks. I know these aren't zombies; they're people that are infected. But that being said, you don't get that kind of context in those types of movies, and it's really neat to see them not lay it down on you, but you're going through the narrative and it's just sprinkled in, and I really appreciate that because that you just get these little tidbits like notes, like, oh, something this person says, oh, something that's going on here, and then you can just look at the overall world that is existing here, and with a couple more introductions, is boom, okay, now you know generally certain limitations, certain I don't want to say that because that's a spoiler, but
My
I'm excited.
God, I'm
I'm
Walking on a
excited.
minefield of spoilers.
Yeah.
I'm excited to break this down because there's so much in here that I feel like people are not expecting, and it's a really really good time, and I definitely recommend it. You should go see this in theaters. Absolutely.
Oh, there you go. We got a lot of recommendations. Anything else? Non-spoilers to shout out.
Nah.
Going once, going twice. Sold to the lady in the white gloves. We'll be right back after this ad break. And we're back. If you didn't want that ad break, or like we talked about many other exclusive stuff, you head to Patreon. The link is down below. Like for everything you need to know, the Discord, how to subscribe to video, audio. We very much appreciate that. August 9th is our GV day, which is going to be a 10-hour stream. At least could be more if you subscribe or up your tier Patreon. Tomorrow, actually, I guess we got Netflix and Fail, where we're going to be watching Extinction. That's going to be quite the whiplash effect from watching, two movies I haven't seen before. 28 years later, two of that. But I don't know if I'll have the same high remarks, but it's going to be a fun time. So look out for everything dropping next month and a half. Lots of 10-year celebration content, and get everything ad free, exclusive episodes, early episodes. You can call in for that show and other after nights. It's a good time. Boy, where should we start with? We absolutely have to start with the Patreon producers: Aaron Brain, Avo Darkness, Jack Grant, Sam, Superman, Mike, God Loves Me 69, Jeremy Renner, who was not in this movie unfortunately, Charlie Randall, and Cocktail Clay. Final warning: if anyone's curious, this is a spoiler wall. So from now on, we're going to be talking about everything that happened in this film. So Taylor's fingers going, but I'm going to throw to Kirkland first. No,
You son of a bitch. Well, speaking of people that are not in this movie, and unless I forgot or I missed it, Cillian Murphy was not in here.
he was. He was the one hanging upside down with the bag over his head.
That was him?
Yeah. He has a tattoo on his shoulder.
You fucking trolling me, man. This fucking guy. Get out
He
of
was
here.
the alpha. He got the steroid.
The big cock
He's
hanging
the,
out.
heard
he's the
he's
one in
well
like the flower field.
That's what everyone thought. Yeah.
That's what everyone
that
thought,
Spike
yeah.
kills, right?
Yeah.
That's
is
not
him.
him. That's
Oh,
not
he
him,
was
though.
too.
He's not it. No, he's not him. I wasn't
Could
sure
be,
if you'd
though.
heard or not. Danny Boyle confirmed when we're getting Cillian Murphy, so
Okay.
that's out there.
And the
So,
Bone
but
Temple.
it was known before that it was not this one. I think he was smart, even though I'm sure not all the GAs like, oh, 1 star, no Cillian Murphy. But he did. I can't remember where they screened it first. They did somewhere where they screened the first 28 minutes later. Fun. But he said like, yeah, just to temper expectations. Like Cillian's not in this movie, and he has revealed when he is coming in the series and whatnot. So we'll
Okay.
see it soon enough. So
But they had to
Yeah.
choose a Cillian Murphy looking zombie for all the marketing.
Yeah, it was
that one
smart, 'cause I
zombie was
remember-
all over the posters.
I saw a tweet where everyone's like, "Man, for 2 days, everyone thought this was Cillian Murphy. How does Cillian Murphy feel about that? And I get it because he's so
Right,
skinny,
looking
but,
like a decrepit.
He's been in the
shambling
gym.
corpse.
He's just getting gains ever since.
first look at a skinny zombie. Everyone's like, "Yep, that must be Cillian Murphy." So, but yeah, no Cillian Murphy. We start off with, I guess, is Village the right? What would you call this place where they are? Town,
Oh, Hamlet.
village.
Community.
I like
We'll go
Hamlet.
with-
That's a fun
We'll
word.
go with the community. I don't like Hamlet.
The
at all.
Shire.
Little island people.
Yeah. Did it have a name? I can't remember. But anyway,
Like
so
Jimmy's Town? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, what other town are
Jimmy.
we talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, not
Opening
no,
of the
not
film.
Jimmy. No,
No,
I
Holly
guess-
Holly Island, right? That's what
Okay.
you're talking about?
Let's circle back. Let's circle back.
I
Here.
don't know.
We will. How about let's talk about the beginning when we get to the end because that kind of
Okay,
ties
yes,
each other.
I
The
like
Jimmy
that.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the Jimmy stuff. Little Jimmy. But the after beginning when we meet our main characters, Jody. I can't even remember their names now. There was Sam. There was Isla.
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 And then what was the kid's name again? Or was his
Spike.
name?
Spike.
Spike. I forget
How do you forget
Spike.
that?
I don't know.
To be
Like,
fair, I needed subtitles for this
Spike.
movie. I feel like I missed a lot of the dialogue.
Ooh.
Just
I
'cause
know
The
a lot of
accents are
Spikes.
thick.
Accents.
I know a lot
I
of
like
Spikes.
the thick accents were nice though.
But
I'm like,
anyways,
what
it's-
did he say? What's his kid's name? I thought it was like Spite for a long time. But
Oh, Arak. What's your name? It's Arak. But yeah, we start off in this community where it is seemingly there is life. There's a bunch of people around. There's people, I guess, jobs. They're cooking. People are seemingly living happily. And Spike, he's woken up by his dad, and okay, today's the day. And we kind of figure where this is going to the trailers, and he's gonna go hunting. But is there anything? I think we kind of saw some of this community stuff in the trailer. But was there anything specifically before we get to like the big stuff about this that you wanted to bring up or move forward or?
One thing I'm curious how you guys felt about this is like, as a lot of this movie is, we're getting it from the perspective of Spike, as you're talking about, of getting the tutorial of the world and all that. But there's a lot of stuff with the town that was just super weird and felt kind of culty, and I didn't know if they were trying to reference back to like the beginning sequence and like the church and this guy having like this kind of radical view of things. But like especially like the party when he comes back, obviously they're feeding him alcohol and stuff, which makes him sick. But it's just overstimulating. He doesn't seem to be into it at all. We get like the old guy cruising around in like the mask, and then we get like weird, Kirkland, you're talking about like some of those crazy shots just edited in the middle of nowhere, and we see various mask shots and stuff. So I don't know. I felt like they were trying to make the town like unsettling to a certain extent, but then other times it's like a jolly old time, like when they're first walking out of the town and everyone's like, "Oh, Spike, it's the big day," and there's like a guy showering in the street and everyone seems happy and good. So it did seem like a weird kind of mixture of like super weird culty vibes and then just like, oh, actually this is pretty normal.
yeah, 100%. I definitely got the vibe more so as I think just spent time like amongst the other people in the town. I mean, especially highlighting the the party at the end. It was giving me like Midsommar vibes, which is like the tapestry, even like our land, our whatever it was. It just had like a slogan where it's like this is strange. And yeah, I did like just the initial like world building of the town, like when they're first leaving, and you just have those signs everywhere of like reminder, like we're short, like take what you only what you need. That one guy's just showering in it's like trying to take too long of a shower. Like I just like all those little messages throughout, and I mean it just was cool to see like this town, not just in like the early stages of its formation. Like it is pretty established here. So it definitely reminded me of Last of Us, but it felt like just a more established town. I mean, defense-wise, way better strategically. They have like a perfect spot.
This place
to
is
be
way
set
better.
up.
Way
yeah.
better. That.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Also, we're gonna get to later, but some of the views they got going on that place, my God, like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
There's a beautiful skylight. Yeah, and it just feels like there's a bit more fun going on there, which we'll see if that leads to anything bad. But yeah, I'm curious because what I loved about this, and we're going to talk about this throughout the movie, we talked about in 28 Weeks Later, where like, oh, they set up this great family drama. What are they going to do with it? And they didn't really do anything with it. Where this movie, that's all it is family drama, of course, with like the rage monster, everything. But that is like a through line between the son, the mother, and the father, and then other stuff that's going on, right? But that's what I'm curious about is none of the drama was, oh, because that community does this. What's Ray Fiennes was never like, oh, you're from there. Like, there was no signs whatsoever of this place being shady other than the camera and like some scenes telling us, hey, some stuff's a little messed up here. I don't know if I need like supernatural or power telekinesis, but I was wondering with Spike's dream there that felt a little weird. So I'm starting to wonder if there's something, if he can sense something that is off with the town that we haven't learned yet, because he has that dream where it's covered in red and his mom's in the fucking lake and her head's just bobbing around. And
Yeah, looking like the cover of the first movie, which was kind of a
Yes.
fun little connection.
so that's why I was like, and that's a lot of time when we saw some of that stuff is from his perspective, whether he was sleeping or like daydreaming in the middle when he's like watching guard and he gets that. So that's why I was wondering if it's something with him. But like I said, nothing is in this movie relaying to that, but that's where I'm going to wait for the second, because that wasn't a big con. Like, okay, I'm curious, but I feel like that is stuff that maybe the second movie we'll get to, because obviously at the end we meet another faction that maybe there's some issues between factions or communities or whatnot, because the only other person we met was Ray Fiennes, and he's just kind of definitely, and again, I can't even judge that because he's definitely doing his own thing. Feels like he doesn't care about anything. He's going to help you out.
He's
and
the
he's
ends.
doing his little ritual.
He's the
Yes,
ends of this
yes.
world.
So maybe not a good person. Where the people we meet at the end probably a bit more in tune to what's going on with everything, right? Because even the way I was wondering when Anthony Johnson was acting kind of shady when Spike's like, "Hey, what's going on, Mom? Is she dying?" And the fact that he wouldn't tell her is like, okay, what is going on with her? But obviously we get a reveal later that I don't think it was a secret because they were mischievous. I think it's a secret because like he's just protecting his son. So that's where I don't know. I guess we'll find out maybe as we go along.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's a lot of like hints to something like that, like just I'm gonna call it like a power essentially. I feel like definitely I got that from Spike, but even the mom, honestly, I thought that was gonna be going like a specific way, like she is some sort of infected or like
A
some
carrier
sort
like
of
we learned about last time.
yeah, or like some sort of, because like there's many moments where I mean she's going through confusion multiple times throughout, and we find out why that is later on, but I thought it was just going to be like she's in and like she's hearing like it sounds like radio waves or like frequencies, and it's just like what is going on with this lady. And there's just many moments where it just seems like she's being guided by something, and then we get led later on when she births that baby. It just seems like she's drawn to it, and then it just never really, like, nothing comes out of that at all. And then she's just, Ray Fiennes brings out her skull. Here, put her down, son. And that's just the end of the character.
the
So
best spot.
I'm really hoping there is something there, because if not, it just seems like a really convenient way of like, well, the mom was just there to birth the baby, and there is no explanation why that was. She was just the right time at the right place. And personally, I don't really like that, so I'm kind of holding my breath on that. But
I was gonna say, you said that's all there was there. I mean, like they didn't just decide to put her down. You didn't mention that she had like brain cancer or whatnot,
no,
right?
well,
So that's
I alluded to it.
okay. That's
but
what
like story stuff. But like, yes, that like just the human side of like, the what's the term Ray Fiennes called, the momentous immorales or whatever.
I know,
the
but it
hell
sounded
was.
good when he was saying it.
Yeah, all of that beautiful. And yes, I was getting choked up with it, with like just with the son realizing that he's losing his mom, and it was a really beautiful scene. But just for like progressing the plot, I thought she was going to be like a really key figure, and I don't think she was, even though like for character growth, I guess you can make that argument, but for telling the story, not so much.
I think she was key to I think she'll be key to obviously Spike in many ways with obviously the way she was raised, and also we didn't get more with that rage baby mother because obviously she got shot to shit and she did look like she was gonna attack, but like that's still gonna be a window to like okay what else more is there. But I guess for me I really like that because the whole movie never thought cancer, and I'm thinking okay what, yeah, like you said, is she a carer, what's this and everything, but that's where I like when they sit down where you find just says like, oh, we're all gonna die. It's just many different ways, right? And you kind of think about that where there's all this stuff going on. You could starve, you could get killed by an alpha's cock, you could like get lost and drowned. But this was just like, no, she got sick, and unfortunately now we're in a world where you can do nothing about it, and you just kind of have to accept it. And at least now she's gonna, I'd say, get a pretty pain-free death because probably didn't feel anything. Ray Fine puts her down, and then she's kind of moralized. So that's what I guess it worked for me. Was it worked enough for Spike, but I just love that it was as simple as cancer because I was like, oh, I wouldn't even thought that. I'm thinking so much big picture, but it's like, nope,
Yeah.
still in this shitty world, the same shit that happened 20 years later or 20 years ago, it can happen here. And you're like, and it's even worse because there is no treatment. There's nothing there. And yeah, that whole sequence when the son got shot and then she got shot with darts. If people are for some reason listening to spoilers and see the movie, it's like to make them at ease. It's numbing them, getting them a little high and
Yeah,
stuff. But
morphine.
that moment where it's just like she's holding Spike and then Spike's holding the baby, Jesus Christ, I was ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think that sequence is well, not the sequence, like the whole movie building up to that is really great. Like even the first scene, when Spike and ATJ are just in the kitchen, or in the kitchen having breakfast, and at one point you hear her just like wailing and smashing the walls a bit, and it's like that just sounds like an infected up there. Are they just like locking her up until there's like a cure, and then they're gonna go pump her with the cure? And so like obviously they're hinting at it as early as that moment, and then there's just various sequences throughout where she's acting a bit odd, she's acting off, which very much ties into like the second movie and the mom in that movie. You don't see a ton of her in there, but when they finally recover her from that house and bring her back and she's locked up, she's acting strange, she's not sharing a lot, and obviously like the mother connection between those two characters, so I think they're trying to play off that. And that's what I was wondering, is like, is she a carrier as well, and that's why she's acting so strange, and is that going to be the impetus for how this village eventually goes to shit? Is because I mean, I don't know. Presumably she's kissing ATJ all the time, so it's not like she would transmit it that way. But I don't know. Maybe some other way that it would get transferred over to someone else, and that's what's going to happen there. But obviously that's not what the movie was doing. It was just setting it up. And then even that scene, kind of when they finally go on their adventure and they're sleeping for the night, and then like the crawler is coming up and about to take him out, and then we kind of get like, oh, I'm thinking it's probably the doctor who saves them, and then they reveal it like 30 seconds later. Like it's not too long where they reveal that it was just the mom, and it was like, whoa, that seems really out of character for her. I didn't even think she had that like amount of energy in her to do something like that. And I don't know if that's just like mother's instinct. Was that just like
Fight
the
or
rage
flight,
kicking in? Like what was going on there? But I think that was a really great shot to just throw off the scent a little bit. Like they did a really good job of smoke screening the cancer behind. Obviously, like this is what this whole series is about to this point.
It's similar to the ending of the first movie where they do the Killian, right? Where they hide his eyes so you can't see when he's popping off the rage. The same thing I thought when that happened, I'm like, okay, it's definitely what we talked about with 28 Weeks Later, that maybe people are born or the carriers are more often, but we like, however, if they eventually gets worse, it wears them down. That's what I'm thinking, especially with the nose. But like, okay, it's something where this is like a slow burn rage where now it's like, okay, if you get bit, that's a 10, 20 second, but if you get born or maybe infected this way, you could live with like, I think we even talked about it like a cancer almost in that second one of like you can live with it for years, but eventually it's going to catch up to you, so but it didn't. It was just regular old cancer that you can't treat and everything. So
it's something that I wonder how, like, going back to the first movie, if that was part of the metaphor, like the layers of like what this thing is supposed to stand for. I was looking up afterwards, I just googled like Alex Garland cancer because I'm wondering like there must be someone in, like, obviously cancer
your
is so
algorithm's
prevalent.
going to be crazy in the next
Like
few
Nate,
days.
like if you haven't been touched by cancer
Yes.
in some way with someone else in your life, like you're incredibly lucky. Like it's just so prevalent, right? And so if like a lot of the take in here just felt very nuanced to me, and it felt like, hey, you must have had someone in his life who's affected by this. And then when I googled that, all I saw was that a bunch of people were saying that like Annihilation is like a big allegory for cancer, which I haven't seen that movie, but okay, maybe it's like material he's kind of dealt with before. But I think one of the sweetest moments of it that made me tear up for sure was when Spike is just kind of in those last moments thinking back on her, and he's not thinking about those moments when she's been aggressive or off or not like the mom that he loves, but he's thinking about like the goofy little like hand thing she did when they're doing the like winky face thing. He's thinking about like those great moments, and that just reminded me a lot of how I think about my grandma who died from cancer. And I don't think about those last like few months when she was in the hospital and like had none of her personality anymore. I think of like the funny jokes she would do or how she would like sing and dance with like her Garth Brooks cutout that she had in the living room. I think about like the fun like things about her personality, not like these moments that are kind of sad and not like her. It's like that's when the cancer is taken over. So yeah, I thought that was very nuanced. And maybe I haven't seen like a movie about cancer in a while, but I think that really hit me for sure because it was just bringing up some emotions that I haven't felt in a while. So yeah, once again, Travis, to your point in the non-spoilers, like that's not what I expected this movie to give me. So that was like a really nice surprise and pivot, and I just thought it was really well done and tied in so well with the material of what the first two movies are, even if they didn't feel like that originally. So just really, really cool. Whether that was kind of planned from the beginning, obviously they didn't think they would make a third movie 20 years later.
Yeah.
But it's just cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I get why, and we'll talk about. There's multiple reasons that after that there's continuing ending and whatnot, but I was partially hoping when he puts her skull on the whole bone temple thing, but then he turns it to face the sunset and they pan out and it's just him with his arm around the bones and it's the skull and they're both looking at the sunset. I'm like, oh, you should end the movie right here. Like that shot, and I get what because I felt like the last 15 minutes was really like, we got to still make money and make sure people want to come back, which I get, right? Because this is it's not guerrilla making, but it is independent in a sense where it's like the first one where it's independently funded, but still somewhat backed by a studio. So I get that, but I was like, man, that shot right there, like that's the shot I'm thinking of this year so far. But yeah, Taylor, how do you take the mom stuff, Jodie Comer?
Again, it was a curveball, knowing that okay, she is sick. She has cancer. That was completely unexpected. And I don't think they alluded to the mom character in the trailers whatsoever. So that was, again, a complete surprise. Trying to catch up to the idea that because she's freaking out upstairs, thinking, like you guys highlighted, oh, yeah, maybe she is infected. Maybe she's a carrier. Who knows what this village is up to? You don't know yet. I had to tell myself, okay, no, it's got to be that something else. Like this village wouldn't keep them like infected in here because that just goes against like, your proper judgment. Yeah, it's very, very risky. But so the idea though that she is sick and you get this emotional send off moment between them, it was very unexpected. But yeah, it's a good reminder. Then I like the messaging too. I can't remember the Latin phrasing that they said, but yeah, just the fact that you have to remember
and
that
he just giggles after that. It's such a like, oh, it's good stuff.
Lamentus mori. That's what it is.
Lamentus mori. You got to remember that you'll die, and then you got to remember to love, and the two kind of go hand in hand with each other. And yeah, I think everything with Ralph's character was just fantastic. Rafe.
Ralph.
Rafe Fiennes.
Fiennes on the doctor. Rafe Fiennes.
It's Latin. Yeah, it's Latin.
Yeah,
it's Latin.
Dead language.
I just thought he was fantastic, and everything that he had interacting with the mom and Spike was really, really good. But yeah, the concept of them dealing with her sickness and just them trying to hide it. I didn't get the sense that it was anything sinister or shady. It was just the idea that okay, the dad didn't know how to handle this or process this. And I feel like we've seen this kind of story in other movies where you're dealing with a sick wife and the dad's out cheating or sleeping around or doing something because he can't process it and whatever. And
what you laughing about, Kirk? What are you laughing on?
It's just
adultery?
It's just a funny series of events that evening because he's just
Where you taking me?
So done with his wife. This guy.
First of all, Taylor, I don't know why you made him sound like Ben Mendelsohn from Secret Nation.
He was drunk and he had a different voice.
Yeah. You got to think about, man, what that guy goes through in 24 hours, hits his son, which that's the lowest point of that character. I still enjoy the character from other point of view. That was like, oh, man, now you've gone too far. But gets thrown out of his own home. I would assume at some point goes back to try and make good. Wife and son are gone, which when that moment was happening, when the son set everything on fire and he's taken,
oh, man.
I'm like, oh my God.
You were laughing. You were giggling.
Because I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. Especially she's like, sometimes in the cosmos, she's out there. It's like, this is super risky. Like, this is probably one of the worst people you want to have out there. But I was like, oh,
he did not perform well on his trial run. No. That was like Aaron Taylor Johnson carried that first mission.
Yeah. They bumped him out. But still, it's just like, okay, fight with his family, gets kicked out, goes back, family's missing, and then the next time you hear from your family, you get a note from your son saying, "Hey, I'm not coming back. Don't know when I'm coming back. Maybe one day. Your wife's dead. Oh, by the way, here's a baby named after your wife as well. Have a good one." And it's just like, man, what a the. If you thought this man was fucked up before, the particles that are blasting off in his head right now, that's why he's just like looking like Sam and Fellowship just yelling in the water at the end. And yeah, I love that moment where he just like he just books it and gets to that door, but no, that tide is too far out, and he's just, I love with each step he's like falling, he's trying,
Doesn't
and
get very far.
no, no, that tide is a big tide, and that's why I love that. It's a flawed character, but it's like a shades of gray character. It's not. It is to the extent where what we talked about in 28 Weeks Later, where they presented like a situation for that dad, and we talk about what would you do, right? But then as time went on, it was like, okay, they make that character just very kind of, just lies to the kids, kind of shitty to the wife because oh, I didn't mean to leave you. But at least with Aaron Taylor Johnson, I feel like obviously he cares about his son. I don't think he does not care about his wife. I think it's just that he's stressed out. And they've probably not been romantic and really loving, because like there's a great moment when that happens and she throws the stuff and she's mad and he walks away. Oh, I'll go take care of her. And right before he goes up the steps, he's like, he's like psyching himself, which people can attest to. I'm not saying go cheat on your wives or partners, but I'm just saying like people that have had to look after people that are either, whether it's cancer or dementia, that stuff can wear on you, especially again. This is a situation where there's no medicine, no doctors. It is you, dude, every day in a world that has rage monsters. You have a kid. So it's like, I can get all that stuff. I think he got too far, also with the argument with the son where he's punching the walls and he hit him. But the second he hit him, it wasn't like yeah, you shut your fucking mouth, kid. I'm your dad. It was like he right away recoiled. He was Borum here. It's like, oh, I totally fucked this up. Like, yeah, so I don't love many Aaron Taylor Johnson performances or characters, but this is one now I cannot fucking, same as Cillian Murphy and now Spike, I cannot wait to see where ATG is in 2. Like, because same thing, does he feel like he has to take care of this baby, or is he like, that's not my fucking kid? Like, but I don't know. Or will he do it as like a make good of like, I failed my family, I can't fail this kid? Like, I'm so interested, and I thought they did a great job with that character of very shades of gray all over the place. So
yeah, I mean, I think they are kind of playing in a couple ways too, where when you get that first scene when him and Spike go out into the world and they eventually make it to that house and there's the body hanging there from the roof, from the rafters, and that's when he's like really, teaching them to kill this person or this raid monster, whatever you want to call it, and he has that very specific line. He's like, this thing has no brain, no heart, no soul anymore either. Like, he's very adamant this is not a human anymore. And they're obviously playing up the personification of it, because like there's literally their name written on this person's chest, and it's Jimmy's name, it's not this character's name. But like, making you feel like this is a human, and obviously he feels like, okay, this person is sick, this is not a person anymore. He makes that total disconnection. I feel like they're playing, obviously I would not expect him to feel the same way about his wife that he does about these rage monsters, but I think that idea is there of like, this person is sick, this is not a person anymore to me. And so I think that angle of it is cool. And once again, like I feel like he's maybe shortchanged a little bit in terms of the ending here, and in terms of the Dune part 1 of it all. Like, it feels like part 2 is going to be a lot more in-depth content for him, where he seems like, he's great to have in here as like a shades of gray, for the whole movie, of different ways that people look at the world and all that. So yeah, I like him. I'm not traditionally a big fan of him as an actor, but I do think he was good here for what he needed to do. I will say the accent, sometimes I could not understand a few of the sentences he was saying, so I struggled. With subtitles would have helped me out here. But yeah, Taylor, I feel like you're ATG fan number 1. I feel like you haven't talked about him a whole lot. So were you jazzed by his performance here?
I was really jazzed. I'm with you guys, though. There was some stuff I could not understand what he was saying, but for the most part, that's fine. You get the gist of it. Yeah, I love a lot of what he is in. I am definitely present for it. I think he's fantastic. Ever since I saw Kick Ass, it's like ATJ,
early adapter.
Fuel the jet.
yeah, that's fair.
So when you see him in this movie and he's just dealing with all these tribulations, it's pretty crazy. And I loved getting that scene of them being out together in the woods and just doing all this, like, it's like coming of age. And I feel like you get these sprinkles of weird flashbacks of soldiers fighting and different wars and stuff like that. And it's just, I think it's highlighting the again that coming of age and that masculinity and that passing of the torch and this a- age old kind of like ritual tradition. Like when I was a little kid, I went out into the woods with my dad and would go out hunting, and it's I feel like it's a very ancient kind of
crawlers.
thing. Looking for crawlers, yeah. They're eating the worms and shit. So
And
And
even
shoelaces.
shoelace, but even too with
get on your
those
belly.
showing all those wars, it shows that even now, like it's an unthinkable situation. But these rage monster zombies, they're still using those same protocols, right? As far as like they have that lineup where they're old age showing black and white footage of the arrows, and then when they go to modern day, they're doing the same type of attacks with the arrows and the formation, right? So it's to show like, okay, there is stuff that no matter what happens in the world, good or bad, it's gonna stick through, whether it's a method, like you said, the hunting, certain war tactics. Especially now, you'd be doing lots of those old war tactics because you're not like the Sweden people or the French people. You don't have assault rifles, and we actually
Didn't
get
work
to
out for the Sweden or the French people
No.
at all.
And I love that we actually saw both him and the son run out of arrows in this. It wasn't a Legolas situation
Yeah,
where
true.
behind them there was always stuff going on. It's like, no, end of night one, they're like, we're out. We're just gonna have to get to shore, the tide, and just
Risky
hope
to
that we
reuse
can
them
make it.
too, because the blood is so
Yes.
toxic in this world. But yeah, that's a good point, because I was wondering what the heck those scenes were really meant to be about. And I feel like there's another scene too that I was kind of confused about. Now I feel like they're connecting a bit in my head, which is when they're in that same field and the mom is looking out at that giant like angel statue, and she's talking a lot about time travel, and she's like, oh, it was like this hundreds of years ago when we were here. And it's like, what are you talking about? But I think that, yeah, there is kind of this connectivity of like this endless cycle to it. And obviously there's a bit of a cycle too of like the baby being named after the mom who, was born like a couple days after she died, or a couple days before she dies. So yeah, I feel like there's definitely a lot of cyclical stuff going on here.
Well,
you
and
get
go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say you get two journeys between the Spike and the dad and Spike and the mom, and you get one that is based in savagery, and you get one that's based in more like civility and stillness, like civilization, that kind of thing. And I think those two play a heavy part in this story because it's people that are trying to reclaim their civilization and in this town, and then you got the outside world in the mainland, which is just savagery and killing and all this crazy shit. So there's a line between the two there.
Well, and that's why, like, when Dylan was talking about, Aaron Taylor Johnson being like, "Oh, it's soulless, has no mind." That's where you jump to the scene where you have the pregnant rage monster, and the mother's intuition is to help it give birth to this. Now, it did, because I was curious what was going to happen next, if they're going to give the baby back to her or what was going to happen. It looked like the second that thing was born, the monster was going to go back into killing, but it's still, there's some sort of giving life for even someone that's that far gone, this rage monster. But then at the same time, like we were just talking about with Aaron Taylor Johnson's probably looking at the mom being like, well, it's probably best that because even the kid calls him like, are you waiting for her to die? And he kind of is, right? Like, I think he's probably, there's nothing he can do for her, and she's getting worse and worse. But they've come to the same conclusion, because once the mom gets that confirmed, the cancer, she's down to take her own life and kind of do euthanasia, right? So that's where again, they have very different mindsets when they went on the journey, but their conclusion kind of similar as far as if you got to put something down, you probably should for the best of it, right? So that's where it's, it's tough, because I was really curious, like, oh, after this adventure, I can't wait to see the scene between those two, but we're obviously never getting that scene, so maybe with the son at some point, but yeah, it's going to be interesting what happens, and yeah, we got pregnant rage babies, which I don't know if that baby's a carrier now. They said it's just completely fine. What the deal is, but we had talked about that again too, as far as, okay, how does this thing continue? Lots of them are looking pretty we got a combo. I don't know what is going on with the big bloater ones, because we have tons of them that are super skinny, and it's probably like food is sparse. But then you have these ones that are quite large, so I feel like they would be eating a lot. That's what I didn't understand.
You're dealing with some that are skinny and starving, and who knows, maybe like they break an ankle and they can't make it. They're laying in the flower fields and they just can't do shit all. And then you've got other ones, which I think if you look at 28 weeks later and you got the dad in there, I think that's like an example of an alpha. And in this, obviously, it's years later. These alphas are like a step ahead of the curve on many, many levels. And then they're talking about how the virus has steroids in it. So there's another little piece of the Easter egg, why they're so big and like heavy muscle and whatnot. Big cock. They got some fucking Viagra in there. And then on top of that,
steroids,
they were never
nowadays.
hard. They were never hard.
So so when you're dealing with the big chubs
Whoa.
that are just crawling on the ground there, I thought that was interesting because you're dealing with, you got the male that they killed, then you got the female, and then you got the little baby one too. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
they're able to get pregnant because they're still humans. They're 100% humans. They just are infected with a virus. So they get pregnant and they give birth. And then the whole talk about the placenta is very interesting.
Yes.
And that's what the
The
doctor.
most sacred part of the body, or said
Yeah,
something like that.
but
The
it,
magic
again,
of the placenta.
I'm not super well versed on how the body is and whatnot, though. But I do know, okay, with the placenta, you're dealing with an evolved human internal body part that has developed to help protect the baby from viruses and infections that the mom might get, and so it's evolved to this stage. And that's not in just the movie sake. That's a real thing. It protects the
Yeah.
baby from infection. So I think, okay, at this point, this is, they're incorporating that into the story, which I thought was really cool. So I'm willing to believe that the baby is not a carrier, but I would love it if they were to build off that a little bit and be like, okay, there is some immunity involved with this.
Yeah. I feel
I'm
like
willing to
there
walk for. Oh, go ahead.
there could easily be like a cure embedded in that baby's like blood, you know? Like I could see that being a connection. But I could also see it not being that, and I don't think I'd be disappointed either. I feel like it could
Yeah,
just
yeah.
be a baby for the sake of being a baby.
Yeah, because it's tough. Like we only got chapter 1 so far of this trilogy, but I feel like unlike the first two, less so the first one, I feel like the goal of this trilogy is not to find a cure to end it. Like I feel like it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, this is
No.
like a 3 story in this world. You know, I still 2 things, like I'll walk with the placenta thing. This one's a hard like jump for me still. Of like, yeah, I get the placenta does a lot of things, but this is like this
Well-
feels like this is a nuke. And then speaking of nukes, the other thing is, again, I'll never believe that the world would not nuke this place. They did set up that in the beginning. Okay, it's just still quarantine. It's by itself. They like even before the film, they offhand mentioned like, oh yeah, the thing that happened in France. They just got rid of it right away. Like they contained it, killed it, and it was done. That clearly was like Danny Boyle being like, yeah, we didn't put that in our movie. Cool shot, but like we are not going to France, so they contained that. So it's just again this area. So I still think like I guess the humane thing is you're letting them live their whole like Shire life, but it's still I feel like everyone would be worried of like what if a boat like anything, right? Like I just don't believe
man,
us
can you
as
imagine
yes.
nowadays people would be swimming across that channel with their fucking YouTube
Yeah,
links.
no fucking way. No, to me, there's no way the world we live in now.
Let's go,
obviously
boys.
Obviously, this is a fake universe, but there's no way it would
Yeah.
not be destroy. But you know, it's
Yeah.
fine. I'll walk with them.
I mean,
So.
I think that's definitely going to be part of it. That's why when we first got the reveal that there was like a big fire out in the distance before we knew it was the Doctor, I was wondering if, are these creatures evolving and like they've invented fire, and we're going through like the history of
Barbecue.
humankind here? Yeah, but I feel like that is part of what we're seeing here with these different types of like the alphas have evolved so that they can like catch these animals that like these deer and stuff that run really fast and catch them without having weapons or anything. They just have to catch them with their
they
own
got a
2
weapon.
feet. But like even the crawlers, like I couldn't tell if the crawlers were because they're kind of bloated like a corpse or something. So I don't know if these ones have like died and come back to life, and obviously like eating like worms and like crawling around on the ground is like. I guess that's maybe just a way of survival. Like it's using less energy because it's just crawling instead of using its whole body. But yeah, like we're seeing them kind of evolve in like a pretty short amount of time compared to how long it takes to actually evolve, like in the real world, Darwin style. So yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll get swimmers at some point and then they can make it out to the other parts of the world. But that might be 28 centuries later. I don't know how
Yeah,
long that would.
we
take
won't see that
for-
one.
Yeah, maybe in a couple centuries if they come back to the series.
Just getting back to the whole placenta thing. I definitely think that's gonna be.
Only in this movie can we have that
let's
transition.
Circle back. Let's circle
get
back
back
to
to
the
the
placenta.
placenta.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a thing like in this universe, but like yeah, that's a tough one to sell for me honestly, because so they're setting up that the infected can just give birth and like grow their colony that way. Like, is that what that means?
I don't know. I would say, okay, like
Because like what happens if Jodie Comer doesn't deliver that baby? The mom births it, gets crazy again, and then just eats her baby because the baby's not infected. Like,
I think the
how does
baby
that
would
happen?
become affected and then like
Yeah.
grow up to be infected. Like
they would bite the baby, and the baby
like that
would be
bloated
infected.
child one. That we
I don't
saw,
think
maybe.
it's gonna. Again, we haven't seen. At most, we've not seen enough of just what their colony is doing of these infected. We've seen them. They're in the river. They're trying to grab fish and they're trying to survive. And that's one of the things they were trying to highlight. Like, okay, how does something like this move on from Just that scene where they all died out from starvation. Okay, well, years have gone by,
Yes.
some have gotten smarter. You have the alphas that can kind of corral a few of them together and then get them into this river where, okay, yeah, let's just like collect fish and just start eating it. And then, yeah, they're still living, breathing things. That's the thing that makes them separate from the zombies. They're not rotting corpses. I mean, well, some of them are obviously rotting flesh for sure, but they're not like
Some of them are
reanimated
good.
rotting corpses that are
Yeah.
decaying and decaying. Well, some will die. The other ones that are still strong, there's plenty of food. There's lots of deer. When you got an alpha killing a deer for you and letting like takes the head and lets the rest of his posse like eat the thing, then okay, you have that kind of hierarchy. You got the food source, and so that alpha's gonna, fuck who he wants or whatever. Like no holdbacks or drawbacks. They're having rage sex. So
Sasquatch Sunset crossover.
that's right,
Honestly,
yeah.
some of the shots were reminding me of Sasquatch.
Kudos to that man. When he was running that train station, that cock was everywhere. That cock was that's the biggest cock I've seen on
Crazy
screen.
they got Jason Momoa to do that role. Huh?
How do you think they cast that? They're like, we need a man with the biggest cock around, or did they just say, okay, man, here you gotta
No,
strap this on?
I think that this is gonna sound weird, but I don't know for sure. He could suffer from giantism, and the reason I know that's because the rest of the Big Show people had said that before. Like he suffers from giantism, but everyone's like, "But his cock is fucking." I had always heard about that his cock was massive, and this man in this movie to me is not bodybuilder big. He is like a different, like he is an alpha level. So I do bet he
But
they
like,
probably
it's
look
like
for
movie
some,
magic, like Gandalf's tall as fuck, but like he's not actually, right?
No, I bet this guy is
especially when you
like
have 36
No.
iPhones aiming at this
There is
guy.
no
I think-
iPhones making his cock that big.
I think he's like a
Taylor's
Paul.
really obsessed with the size of the cock.
He's like it was
it was
crazy.
right there.
The whole audience too, especially there were some young girls in our crowd. You could just see them like looking around, like what's happening right here. Like I don't think they were expecting big nudity at that point, but no, I think he's like a Paul White, Andre the Giant. That he's someone that and not suffers from giant. People live on to be could be 60, 80, whatever. It's just like it is technically a disease giantism, but all his features were very big and elaborate. Like his hands, everything about him. He was a massive guy. Like this is a guy like in real life.
You're telling me.
He is a guy in real life you need like fucking 20 dudes to take down. Like he's messing you up no matter what.
Or one
so.
dart from Doctor or whatever. his name is.
or one well-placed start, which
Samson. Oh, Samson.
that's how they took down the Big Show one time in wrestling. They shot him with a dart and shaved his head to embarrass him. So
Man, this guy was in Gladiator 2. He played
course he
Phoebus, and he was also in Kraven the Hunter.
Phoebus.
And he just
He
played
was in
Kraven?
Kraven.
Kraven the
stunts.
Hunter.
He just played
Wow.
stunts.
That's fun. I love
okay,
that.
that makes sense. Yeah, what's his name? Shout him out.
Shouts out to Chi Lewis Perry.
Chi
He's
Lewis
a
Perry.
superhero draft, man. That's
Golden
the next fucking
Geeks
Batman
coming up.
right there. Yeah.
Best
no
villain.
no one's fucking with that Batman. Dave Cornsweat's gonna see him and be like, "Oh my god."
He wears no
Just-
pants.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or just the
cock out.
cod piece. No, the cod piece on that is just massive. But let's take an ad break, and we'll be right back. And we are back. Something I wanted to say before I forgot about it, again with Air Terry Johnson. In a weird way, he did spare that like younger bloater one, which I wasn't expecting. Because like he sees it in his sights, and his son's
True.
like, Dad. And he doesn't do it. So again, that's why I like to still show there's maybe certain lines, because that was, even though it's a kid bloater thing, it's like, it's still, rage effect. Like it still would probably kill you if you given the chance, right?
And it
So that's-
ran off, which is another
It
interesting
did.
thing.
It was pretty
and
quick.
Yes.
there's a few moments where they emphasize that these things are, again, evolved, obviously, with you see their different hierarchies and their classes, but when they're inside that building and he wants Spike to shoot and execute this one hanging there, and it's the dad is basically saying like, oh, these things don't have a soul, yada yada. It cuts to the thing's face and it does a weird mouth kind of like gasping behind the bag, like almost
Terrifying
like
shot.
it is terrifying, but it's in a way of like, okay, I doubt that it understands what the dad's saying, but it's like they implied that this thing could detect the hostility, and you see the way that these things are watching them and the way that they've been reacting. It's like they've hit a certain stage of civility in their own sense.
Even the way it tries to fight out of that, right? You can make an argument that Eric Taylor Johnson's constantly like, you got to kill this thing, got to kill this thing. That's when the thing's getting worked up and wants
That's
to
right.
fight back. And that's where it's like, I could believe it's almost something that I'm not going to say in 3 movies from now they're stand up speaking and everything, but if it kind of evolves and gets even like there's like I don't want to say a tolerance, because I don't think someone could build tolerance, but in a sense, right, where it doesn't affect their mind that much, and there has to be some slight of humanity left, because even then it felt like the birthing scene, again, she was definitely going to chew that baby right away, but in that moment while she was giving birth, it felt like there was still some humanity for her to still grab a hold of Jodie Comer's hands for support and give birth to
Yeah.
baby.
So
That to me,
instincts were powering through past the rage
yes.
virus.
So that's why there's still something in there with them. And that's why maybe when we started this in 28 days later, that wasn't there, right? That was the instant shot. Like, no matter what, you're just rage. There's nothing left you. Where now it's like, even if there's like 2% of you, there's something in there, you know? But I don't know. It's fascinating.
On the note of the alphas, the
Circle
no.
back.
yeah, circle back. Like the when they first introduced the initial one, and he was just standing on the
Fuck.
hillside,
Great
and they
shot.
were great shot. They did this weird kind of sideways panoramic like skew where it looked like it was almost like 3-dimensional in placement, where the
28
alpha was
iPhones,
standing
there you
with
go.
the with the tree. It was so cool and eerie, and then with the sunset, and them just watching out the from the loft of this house, and it's just standing there, so fucking eerie and freaky.
Yes.
But yeah, just that scene one-ups itself when, you know, it felt like it was great, everything was good, and they're running across the beach court,
What a
like,
first
bridgeway.
day.
What a first day, yeah. And then all you hear is just the thud, 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 and this
Fucking Tom
fucker
Cruise
is
alpha
going.
is running.
Holy shit!
That
I
was
was at a
Hunter
loss
running.
for
Come on
breath.
now.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Adrenochrome Hunter running.
that was
Yeah.
crazy. Right when he gets there and they fucking spear him, and he goes, "Oh Jesus."
You have
Yeah.
like full on nebulas in the sky too. It makes it feel like a sci-fi movie for a moment there. Like we're in space, the reflection off the water, and just like when they do those super zoomed out shots, and you just see like the puddles
Yes.
splashing, going through the different kind of checkpoints that they have set up there. Yeah, that shot was. I mean, almost every action sequence in this had me on the edge of my seat, because I think what the first two movies set up pretty well is that like anyone can die in these movies. Like no one's safe. And yeah, maybe there's like interviews like, oh yeah, this guy's in the next movie, so you could have deduced that because we know there's like a direct sequel coming out. But I didn't really know any of that, so I'm like, literally any single one of these people could die at any moment, even the kid in this, because very early on in this movie, like 17 kids get slaughtered in a room
God.
watching Teletubbies.
Yeah.
So yeah, it feels like no one's safe, and I think that's what adds to the tension of this compared to other series where you feel like, oh yeah, well obviously these three have like plot armor and they're going to make it through, but that's not necessarily the case.
Well, and even with the whole bridge thing, it felt like, I'm sure that's happened before, but I just didn't get the impression from everyone talking about it, the rules that, oh, constantly these things like run up on us, we got to fight. Like, I know there's a gate, so I'm sure it has happened, but this just felt like DEFCON 5 of not only is one of these things running after you, but it is an alpha, and they've said like, oh, this will take at least 12 arrows to kill it. Obviously, with shooting it, they had to shoot like that big fire, you know, what are those called? Bastilles, right? Like they have like
Ballista.
a mini ballista, thank you. Like a mini version of that. But that to me, like, I don't know for sure, because I think there's a lot of great scenes in this movie, but right now I think for Golden Geeks, like I have that in my mind as like a nominee, that just because it goes from that high to, yeah, we're going home, to just looking back, and that thing is trucking. Like you said, Dylan, I love just the glimmering of the moonlight when you see it. Just, it's so good. And again, I guarantee you someone could look at that scene and might be like, there's too much going on there. Like the glimmer of the moonlight, the northern stars type of look, like the big thing
How
running,
long
but
it
it's
is
like
too.
how-
Like,
it's-
it seems like
yes.
he's so close to them, and they're like halfway,
Yeah.
and I'm like, they're
Yeah.
not making it. Come on now, this is
And then the
Yeah.
lady at the gate is
Yeah.
really,
Wait,
dragging her heels to let them
yeah.
in, which makes sense, You want
yeah,
to
and
be
it's
careful.
it's great because that's where it's like, that's where it helps seeing those other movies, because oh, she's waiting for that 20 seconds, because that's the peak of, if they're gonna turn, it's 10 to 20, and she's waiting, and he's like, look at her eyes, look at her eyes. It's like, how it goes. But and what a great shot from that. They fall on the ground to then it's just Aaron Taylor Johnson fucking plastered, just like, we did it, like my son's the best, like just to show that for him, not that it wasn't a big deal, but he's just already over it, where the son, that is a traumatic, his life has changed in multitudes, where Aaron Taylor Johnson's like, I'm gonna get drunk, I'm gonna fuck, I'm gonna have a good time. But yeah, that was a horrifying scene. I did want to ask though, and I don't know, like I said, if I'm on anything, because the some of those visions, what did you guys take anything from anytime the alphas? It didn't happen so much in the second half. In the first half, those crows were moving wherever the alpha was going, and that to me was
They
curious.
seem like
'cause-
scouts.
Spies
Yes.
from Isengard.
Yeah.
Well, they were bats at first, right? With the first,
were they? Okay.
yeah, but then they were crows later on. But I thought with the bats that were introduced, I thought, okay, these bats, obviously animals can't get infected with this virus, but they can still spread it through blood transmission. And so if
Well,
these
can't
bats
they?
are feeding.
Isn't that how it started with the monkeys?
because they share that similar kind of DNA to us, I guess, is the context. But no animals have been infected. The crows aren't infected. Nothing else. The deer aren't infected. So that's something that they highlighted
True.
as well.
That'd be
So I thought for sure that these bats, if they're biting infected, that they're gonna have blood on their mouths. They're gonna go
Yeah.
and bite humans. I thought they were gonna the horde of bats are gonna go to Holy Island and start biting people. I'll be like, holy fuck, like this is brutal.
I thought we were going into the wizarding realm. Honestly, I thought they were like the alpha was sending them to just ransack
Vampire
this
bats?
village.
Yeah, like, I don't think he's sending
scene
them,
from
but
Van
there's-
Helsing.
I guess there could be something to it, unless they just say, no, we thought it looked cool, but it just.
I mean, that could be how you get this virus to the mainland if they ever want to do that in a sequel.
right, yeah, like
Ooh.
just how it goes. But I
Pick
just
up
thought
on
it.
the bats.
It was strange in the first act that it happened twice, where there's an alpha and there's
Yeah.
things in the air around him. Like I said, it didn't really happen later on when they were like after Ray finds and chased them, so that kind of got dropped. But that was a different alpha as well, so maybe you can make a case that I don't know that alpha was in tune with fucking nocturnal like flying animals. I don't know how that would be, but I thought it was an interesting note. But I very much love the alpha aspect. Again, very video gamey. That felt like all of us. It's like, okay, here's your bloater type, here's your quick data, and
The
here's
health
the
bar
alpha.
comes up at the bottom of the
Yes.
screen.
Yes. So
Man, I thought they were safe on their little Bone Temple Island, but when Samson's just
Yeah.
charging cock and all in there, it's like, holy fuck. And
Takes down a fucking skull with that thing. He's swinging through.
well, that's the other thing when we're talking about the humanity. I don't think Samson was there just to fuck everything up. He was there to get that baby, right?
that's how I
Yeah.
took it. Yeah.
Yeah, which should not be
Yeah.
the case if it's just they're completely. Because before Ray finds pretty much said like, yeah, they don't really come around here that much. He created that like rock bridge to like
When
to
she
like.
was carrying like the newborn on that bridge, I'm like, oh no, this is so dangerous.
He's not even getting her hand. He's way up there, like, oh, don't worry. But like,
This is to keep them out as he's like
Again,
shaking it.
he made it sound like no, like they don't like really like he could not build this huge temple and all these kind of like a graveyard for these people if it's always getting messed up, right? So that's where it's
Yeah.
like okay, and that's where he's like, I think you and the baby have to go. But yeah, that's another interesting
Yeah.
note of it won that baby.
I
so.
mean, yeah, even in the train, like I don't know, have we ever seen an infected react to another one of the infected
Right,
being
he
killed?
picked it up.
Right,
He
picked it
picked
up
her
and like
up, yeah.
acknowledged her, and that's I can't think of another time we saw that. Right?
yeah,
No,
That's
yeah, that's a
crazy.
first. And you're probably gonna see Samson again, and he's gonna be
Oh, yeah.
charging.
Get
up
ready,
that village.
Taylor.
Bigger.
Get ready.
yeah. 3D though this time.
Oh yeah, get those those glasses on. Quick shot. There's a sequence, and maybe this could segue into another character, but where our crew, Spike and the mom end up at a gas station. Man, Chocolate Moose would have been thrilled walking into that gas station.
What the hell is this stuff?
Gasoline.
Shout outs to our top secret episode.
Yeah.
Go check that out if you want to
Yeah.
understand that.
Chocolate
But
Moose,
But yeah,
man.
well, I guess that could lead kind of nicely into Eric, who's the one surviving Navy. So we see early. I think this is a nice connection. We see early in the movie that like there's a boat cruising around, and they're like, "Oh, who is that?" It's a Navy. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, we crashed on something." I think what they crashed on was like their little island bridge, right? That goes to the island. That's what I
Yeah.
assume.
Oh, I didn't even think
the-
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
okay.
think that's what the boat must
Causeway.
have smashed into. And then yeah, we get that sequence, which I love the set piece of that, like this canal or dam. I don't know exactly what it was, but like them all jumping in there. One of them like breaks their leg on the way down. Then all the or the infected just kind of swarming in over top. And then obviously this infected, they don't have to enter through that one place. They can just start toppling in from the random locations. I thought the intensity of that was great. And once again, just like super incompetent army men that like have really bad technique, really bad tactics, not any form of teamwork. That seems like they've never actually been in a combat sequence before, so they're really out of their depths. But yeah, that kind of leads us into getting Eric, who's in there for like maybe a good 20 minutes or so as a little side characters. What do you guys think of Eric?
I was worried when he was introduced. I was like, oh boy, this could be like, because he was a mile a minute. He was joking. He was throwing out lots of stuff. I just wasn't sure. I was happy for the most part of how he was used. I'm still a little unsure on his ending there because it felt like he was kind of warming up to them, and then he went on to like DEFCON, like I'm gonna just assassinate you right here. I do get it when he's like, well, our things are to kill these people, but he even said like, once you're on this island, you can't leave. So I just feel like maybe you go with now the new customs or the people, because like this is your life now, dude. Like you are living with these people. You're not going back. But I thought there was some fun stuff. killed in our theater, which I will mention was very packed, which was crazy. I think like packed them some more like the bigger like Marvel and DC Star Wars. I guess we haven't seen a Star Wars movie in fucking years, but like some of the bigger IP stuff, our theater was about 75% packed. I was surprised, but he killed it. So no, it was fun, and yeah, it was a good little. I think you talked about it there, but almost alluding to like 28 weeks later, where some of those soldiers were kind of dumb too. And it's the same thing where he's talking about like, oh, I could have been a delivery driver. I'm this. Like now, just being a quarantine soldier is just like a job. It's like, yeah, you're gonna go watch the island over there and just make sure nothing funky's going on. You know. So liked the character.
Yeah, I was. I'm glad it was short lived. I was pretty. It was just like a dynamic where I'm like, I don't need this guy in the crew, you know, moving forward with Spike and the mother. And it's like, what would he have done when we got to the Bone Temple and stuff? It's just like, no, this is not what I wanted. I do agree. I think his like switch came a little bit quickly, but I guess it makes sense if he's just a trained soldier. He just knows like all infected is a bad infected. So, you know, and the only good bug is a dead bug sort of mindset. I feel like he is just that mentality, so it does make sense. The iPhone joke definitely got me. He's like, oh, you got photos? Take a look at this.
I knew it was gonna be a girl. I knew it the second you said.
Oh yeah, 100%. No, it was it was
grilled.
quite funny. So that one did get me, but I don't know. I'm happy the way it went. But I was just, I don't know, turning in my seat when they were just running through the gas and like they just didn't go down low, like below the gas. Like I get it, the mom was going crazy, but like she shouldn't have lived. Like she should have dropped dead in like 4 seconds, honestly. Like with that much density of like, what was it, benzene? Just running around, she's choking on it. Like she's not chocolate mousse. She would have
even like again.
Mousse.
You can suspend your disbelief, but even if she's that far gone with the cancer, even some of those hikes would have probably done her in. You know, like when you're sick, like you can't even make it to the fucking bathroom.
I mean,
you know, and
yeah, like talk about suspending your disbelief. Like, man, just the fact the baby didn't cry like once, like
no
a
quiet
brand
place
new
situation.
newborn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that
never
was
came up.
quiet.
Yeah,
Sorry?
that never came up. I thought that was going to be like, oh, the big thing, but they never. Even the guy,
no.
I thought that's why he wanted to kill them, because he's like, we can't get rid of that baby. I thought, oh, because it's going to bring noise. But he's like, no, I just kill all infected stuff. So, no, great baby. Who
But he
only
did
had
say
water,
he did
too.
say that. He did say like it's a pouting baby or a crying baby or whatever, because the baby was crying at the time.
He did, but then he's like, if it's infected, we put it down. So like, I get it, but at the same point, again, that baby had no milk either, so just going off water. Which again, in real life, if a newborn does not have that protein, they're gonna be fucking loser.
Well,
They're gonna lose their
that's
mind,
what he
and-
said too. Like the baby's only got a couple days living off of water, and then like it needs milk.
No, I know it could survive, but I mean, like, I don't think it would be as calm as that. That child, that water would not be enough. Especially, I'm gonna assume it's not getting the best nutrients from the rage monster mother. It's not like Madison or Emily's had a child. It's like, oh, here's your guide, and here's what you eat, and here's what you do. This thing we saw it's in the river, like shaking about. It's like it's not going through a good time. So this baby,
Eating that alpha hog,
you
that's
know.
all she's got.
Yeah.
And I guess do they have animals on the community that they can get milk from?
Oh yeah,
I just didn't see any cows.
I think
or
they.
anything
I
like
thought
that,
they had some
so.
cows on there, and they got pigs. Maybe you can milk a pig. I don't know.
Where are they getting stuff like? I guess where are they getting any of this stuff after 28 years, right?
Well, I guess it's fully self-sustaining at this point with like like a few exceptions, but then that's what the trips
Like
in
wine.
mainland are for.
Yeah.
Yeah, like to me, wine is like where they're getting that, but I guess they're growing grapes and letting it ferment and all that stuff. I
That would
guess.
be crazy. I would not expect them to have that process.
But they
The way
had
that they
wine
were-
there. They were a character was drinking wine, so it's like, oh, do they
I
get
mean,
stuff sent from other countries?
I kind of took that
don't
as like
know.
this is a rare time when they do this particular celebration.
Yeah.
And maybe they do come up with a lot of excuses to have these celebrations as much as possible, but it seemed like they kind of save it for the right moment instead of just, busting it out every night like that. I think that's
mean,
why everyone was going so crazy, because it's like, oh, this is our,
Yeah.
maybe we do this 2 or 3 times a year kind of thing.
Captain's cover, top shelf stuff. The way that we're setting up with the established village in the beginning, I thought there was going to be like traders coming through and stuff like that, and like other cities that they're trading with, but we
Right.
just never got that at all, which was, I don't know, a little bit disappointed in, just to see.
We could in the sequel. Bone
It's
Temple.
true. Yeah, I don't think Jimmy's really
Jimmy
trading
Squad.
with anyone. Just don't get that vibe, but
I don't know. You
They're
don't,
rocking
you don't get
bling,
those
so
clothes
they-
off the
they-
street.
yeah.
You gotta.
Very true. Yeah, they were swagged out.
Yeah.
That's true.
I-
Yeah, where do they get those clothes?
To go back to
Yeah.
the placenta. No, back to Eric for a bit. I don't have much to say on the character. I did like him in there. I think Kirkland, you mentioned like he was in there for just the right amount of time. If you
Yeah.
put too much more of him in there, it would have been like, okay, now we're dragging the movie down. But I think he was fun. I think just what's so great about this movie and the potential of this series is just getting different characters' worldviews, and he definitely has a very
yes.
warped worldview. And it's weird to like insert him kind of where they do, because I feel like he's a bit of like an exposition machine. He's kind of explaining what the mainland is like and like what a phone is, but it's like as a viewer we know what a phone is, and then the kid is kind of sort of explaining what the rules of this island are like, but he also doesn't really know much, so he's
Yeah.
not giving him much information, which maybe that's just kind of leading into how little they really know about it, and that's, I don't know, telling in and of itself. But I thought he was fun to have in there as kind of like a shithead annoying army guy. I thought he actually had like a bit more personality than we normally get for those types, and especially compared to the first movie, which had a ton of those types, and I couldn't
Absolutely.
think a
Kooky,
single
weird
one of them
people.
right now, even though I watched that movie a month ago. But
Yeah.
I liked him for the short stint he had in here.
Well, even Brendan Gleeson, the dad, in 20 days there before like the dramatic stuff happens with him at the end. He's, I think, a pretty comedic relief character, right?
Sure.
And I feel like this character is brought in here for this like 15-20 minute arc, because after him you're just gonna get a lot of heavy stuff. So I feel like that's why, like, hey, let's let the the pedal off the gas a little bit here. Like, let's like, especially too, you're dealing with Jodie Comer, who's like going through a difficult situation. It's like even the stuff where he's carrying her and then she starts to walk, like, your mom can walk this whole time, like, and the whole
That was
dad
good.
stuff, like, yeah, like I think the movie needed, like, let's give a little levity because we're about to give the mom cancer, we're gonna give birth to this baby, we're gonna kill the soldier, we're gonna have Aretha Johnson lose everything, we're gonna have all this stuff go down, the doctor's gonna be chased by Sam, like, it's just one beat after another of heavy stuff. So I think it works in that way, just be like, okay, let's have a moment, have a couple laughs, because this one's definitely 28 weeks later, I don't think was that funny. I think they tried, and because it's not Danny Boyle and Alex Garland, they are missing that. 28 days is funny sometimes, to the point where it just feels so weird when you just get in these situations or just stuff that happens, and it's supposed to be like a very dramatic movie, but at times it's almost slapsticky what's going on. So I think that was kind of like a good ode to the first one, and be like, yeah, remember that had some really weird stuff? Like, even then, it was kind of funny that we found them at like a, I was wondering, it didn't turn out to be, but the way that building was shaped, I thought it was gonna be that same building Cillian Murphy killed, like that child rage thing, because it looked like that same kind of like tea thing,
interesting.
but it wasn't, because I just saw like something burger, and I remember him saying he wanted burger, so I thought, oh, is that? And I guess that maybe someone could point out if it is, but yeah. So I enjoyed the laugh break. So
Yeah, Eric, I thought, okay, a little too much of this, it could get a little bit exhausting and really pull you out of it. But what we got with this character, I liked. I was laughing at the jokes, and I really enjoyed his introduction and showing, okay, where the modern world is kind of at with things, and his viewpoint on everything on this island, and the stigma and the stereotypes involved with it. Because yeah, you can, like you guys said, people would be going there with their live streams and stuff like that. There'd be such a crazy dynamic in the real world of people just
There's
coping
a
with the fact that
country?
there's an
Yeah.
island, like, yeah, not just an island, but it's the fucking United Kingdom, like,
that we've just disassociated, and they're
yeah,
like, you know,
that's fucking huge. And so for them just to still be there, you'd have conspiracies, you'd have all these different things going on. And so I think it's just funny how you have this stigma where he's talking about, oh, you guys are inbreeding and all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff, and there's just this real negative association with this island. But if you get stuck there, you're on your own, you're fucked. And so him coming in here and talking shop and then not knowing the rules either, because there's no proper training. Like, obviously the outbreak that happened in France was at the beginning of all of this, right? Like, now we're near 30 years later, and we're dealing with a new generation of soldiers that these guys don't obviously have the discipline, and they don't have much of the experience to be dealing with a situation like this, because there's no boots on the ground missions. There's no one going in here doing anything. And so as soon as that gas station blows up, he's like, what happens? Are more coming? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
He doesn't know the rules of
I don't think they know
what's
about the
happening
alphas
here.
or anything like that.
They don't know about the alphas.
Right.
They don't know about any of that. And so that's why, again, he's laughing at the idea when Spike is telling him about alphas and stuff like that, and just thinking like calling it some other term, Vikings, whatever. But
Yeah.
I liked
I
all
mean,
that.
Even Eric, like at one point, he like just calls them zombies, And so I feel like the perspective he's probably coming in with is like thinking about what we see zombies often on TV and stuff, which is like just slow, lumbering, like brainless creatures. But obviously, yeah, 28 years is a long time, and yeah, like it's been a long ass time since we had that mission from 28 weeks later, and even then, all those people died, right? Like pretty much that's not like anyone's getting that information back of like, here's what we learned about this kind of thing. It's just like, I guess we just kind of sweep that under the rug because we don't know anything about it, and it's dangerous as heck.
Yeah, which I swear they showed us some clips from that movie.
They did,
right?
from the sniper's perspective with the people running out.
With the bows,
Yeah.
kind of switching back and forth. That was interesting.
Which I like because it's still like I said, I won't say they retcon the France thing, but they, to me, kind of retcon it like, hey, we're gonna figure that out. They've solved it. That's good. But I like that it's like, okay, it's a movie that they weren't exactly a part of. I think they produced and obviously they shot the opening scene, but I still like it. It's not like one of those cases of like, yeah, but don't associate anything with that second one. Like, okay, that was like a little venture there, and they used some stuff there, and but yeah, I don't think anybody made it out. So
when did that I actually missed that Paris line, to be honest. Like, who said that, or when was that in the movie?
because I think that's when they're talking about the quarantine people, and I could be inflating it with that they've said that in their interview, like outside the movie as well. That
They did.
That the Paris thing, like pretty much what happens. It sounds like the infected.
So it's not
get
in
to
the movie,
Paris.
is what you're saying.
I think they talked about it. I think they're going to probably talk more about later, but when they're talking about the quarantine people and the soldiers from Paris, I think they say something like, oh, well, they took care of it before. Like, they kind of allude that.
And that was in the text, too, right? When it was like 28 years later, they driven it off of the mainland Europe.
Okay, yes, thank you. Yeah, so I think they only gave like that and then like a sentence of like, oh, they've dealt with this before. So
I found it interesting that like, the jump between the first movie and the second movie, obviously like half a year. This one, 28 years. Yet the second movie had like had way more lines in that kind of Star Wars crawl at the beginning of this. This was like very quick, but I feel like I kind of breezed past that line. But then when we get Eric, he kind of backs that up because he's like talking about comes from Sweden, and I'm like, okay, I guess everyone else is safe in the world. So I don't know, maybe that was like for idiots. Maybe there's too many people like me missing some of those details early on as they throw him deeper in the movie to kind of just reinforce like, oh yeah, the rest of the world is safe, by the way. It's just England that got effed.
yeah, and I know we're going to talk about it. I just don't want to forget about it. Very much like that when the main movie is done, they did the 28 days later, and then that got us to the ending. I love that just kind of keeps happening in this franchise. So, but very fun like tag there and whatnot. So, let's see. Anything else we haven't? Obviously,
I just have so many notes, but we're already an hour 20 in. I don't know how this.
Rapid
this
fire
movie's-
them. Rapid fire them.
Okay, one thing I really like. I feel like several characters said the exact line, "Well done, Spike." His mom said at one point, ATJ is saying it, the doctor saying it. I forget if Jimmy said it when he encountered him at the very end, like at the hill when he saw him do like the first bow shot, but like exactly those words, "Well done." I thought that was kind of funny.
They call him a good lad too many times.
You're a good lad. There you go, good lad. You talked about this, Travis. Like, I don't think we ever really see anyone turning in this movie. Like, I guess with a couple of the army, like Eric's friends in the canal, you get like a bit of that.
Jimmy's
That's
mom.
kind of the most of it, which I feel like is
The beginning too, I guess, but that's the start of
I
the
don't count the
outbreak.
beginning.
Sure.
I don't
Little
count
Jimmy's
the beginning.
mom.
Yeah, I don't count the 28 days later because that's like okay, that's kind of in that time frame that we've covered before, right? But
Yeah, I feel like that's such an iconic imagery of this series. It seems like, so I was kind of surprised they didn't kind of dig into that more. But I don't know who the characters would have been that would have done that. Two questions. One I mentioned earlier, like the obviously people in the town, like the old guy had like the mask, and then there was even like a weird quick shot when Spike was freaking out, or I forget if it was a dream sequence or something, where they're like setting up for the party, and then like someone with a mask like pops up for like a frame, and then they like remove it. Like, what's going on with the mask? Does that mean anything? Like, am I missing something here?
I don't think it means anything, but I think it's gonna have to the way they emphasized it. So
Okay.
Very culty. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what about the radio waves? Like, earlier on in the movie, we're getting a lot of like just all sorts of audio thrown at us. And one is like the staticky radio thing kind of cutting it out. And like, I forget what that lady, I don't know, keeps saying something. That's when we're getting a lot of the shots of like the knights shooting the bows and stuff. But I also felt like I was maybe missing something of, was that a callback or was that something else? Just for
I have
flavor?
no idea.
I don't know about a
confused.
callback. It's something that needs a little bit more context, or maybe it's up to interpretation. I really don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got more rapid fires. Music, we talked about this a little bit, but yeah, once again, very much bringing back some of those kind of trippy psychedelic vibes that the first movie had, and then the second movie had a lot of like kind of church hymns and like those kinds of sounds, and I feel like this movie kind of stitched between those two things, which was fun because I feel like the second movie didn't have a ton of personality in the music department, but when you mix it with like the weird psychedelic stuff, and then this movie just having like sound effects all over the place, as we were just talking about some of them, I feel like, and like there's screaming sounds and like breathy noises and like drips, I feel like are really accentuated in this, which like you know go back to the first movie when like the dad gets infected, and you know it's because there's like some blood just dripping down from that building up ahead when the guards get there. Like when I just hear dripping sounds in the series now, I'm like on edge because I'm like, what exactly is dripping? In this case, I think it was just water when they're like in that church. But yeah, just like the sound, like more than just the music, like the soundscape that this movie makes is really, I feel like exceptional. And it was cool that it was a kind of a blending of the two previous movies.
No, sound design spectacular, and yeah, I like that they brought back. It's a very not. If you were to hear these songs separately and be like, "Hey, this is going to be in a zombie type of movie," you'd be like, "Oh, that doesn't really fit," but they make them fit in this one. So the only thing I was hoping they brought back is they brought back kind of some of the vibes of the music. I was hoping we were going to get some really weird transitions. There was at one point where the mom and son were walking. It was very far on the flower field, and it looked like a very art pastel, but not as hard as the original. And we didn't get that, mouth in the bottom frame. I was hoping like, oh, could we get one really just fucking weird one? They never did it, so I'm kind of hoping when Danny does number 3 that they do. Okay, let's for old time's sake, let's throw in something that like it kind of looks bad, but it like it just has some fun, I don't know, personality to it. But yeah, really enjoyed the music and sound choices throughout all this. So,
I'll just keep going. Camera, we've obviously talked a lot about the different shots and things like that. I mean, so many of the shots in this are just like the perspective of them being watched, and that's like every character in this, but it's like you'll get a weird shot from like the underbrush or from like some trees far away, and then we'll just cut back to like a regular shot of them like from a regular perspective. But I feel like they mix that in there so well to just always make you a little bit on edge. I think the suspense in this movie is fantastic, and a lot of obscured angles or just the camera has all sorts of effects thrown over top of it, but it doesn't feel like cheesy or cheap or movie maker, right? Like they just have very different vibes to their certain shots, doing like the weird odd angles that the mostly the first movie had, a little bit of the second movie too. So I really like some of that stuff. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say we didn't even talk about, because we talked about non-spoilers, but those shots of, we saw how they use the iPhones was, let's say I get shot with an arrow and then it gives like a rapid fire, like a all around you, and that's where it's like, okay, so all these angles, they have like, let's say 16 different angles, and they just edit them together all at the same time for a rapid fire, and that's where that felt like a video game when a character would get hit and it's almost like it stops, and it's not slow motion, but it looks like slow motion, but it's not, it's still moving, but it's because it's rapidly flipping. It's such a off-settling thing, and like I said, it feels like when you have like Deadeye or like VATS and Fall Light,
the
where
Bethesda kill cam.
Yeah, I loved it because it's like that's not stuff that's stuff you might see in like a short or someone make it, like that's something in a movie where, again, at times it's a very dramatic scene that happens. I go like, oh, does this fit here? But it's like it's just so cool. I'm like, yeah, and it's so unique. It's like, yeah, do it. But yeah, it was cool to see. Like I said, now when we see that iPhone ring, it's like, oh, we know exactly what those shots are. It's anytime those actions hit, and then it's seeing all these different angles, or like if they switch their head. So very cool method. So.
Yeah, it's like putting your finger on a piano and just like rolling it down. It's
Yes.
like all these like different notes just kind of crescendo together in a way that you're not normally used to. I guess a couple action sequences we maybe have glanced past a little bit, but I love just that first sequence with the Alpha when he sends them after, sends like the whole crew after Spike, and I can never remember ATJ's character's name in this movie, but anyway, those two characters, and they make it to the house, and then like just very slowly, they keep stopping, take a couple shots, and then they keep moving again. They try this thing where like one shoots while the other runs, and then they switch, but like obviously they just are not super coordinated at that yet, and they also the soldiers suck at that later too. But when they get into the house, so fucking claustrophobic, such a tight space, getting up the stairs, like I was always on the edge of my seat once again, feeling like these characters can die at any moment. Which most movies don't have that vibe, and then just like sneaking into the attic just barely, and then obviously when the house like comes crumbling down later, and then it's like night, and that like they can't get across the water yet, which turns out they can by the time they get there. But man, like that whole sequence, it was so intense. I just love that they took a really tight space for that rather than like obviously the endless openness of like these fields, but instead just like this really tiny house. It was super dramatic.
And when the kid got up the attic, but then fell out of the attic onto Lieutenant Johnson,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my god! It's because I thought I didn't think the kid was dying, but like I could see Johnson die right here because it's
Yeah.
like we know we have Jodie Comer. We didn't know how sick she was, but we know we have her as like a co-lead. We know Killian's in here somehow, so it's like I knew he was in this movie, but it's like, oh, is that how you get set up? Is like, or I thought is Danny Boyle lying, and that's how you meet up? Is Killian saves or meets this kid, right? So that's the thing. And even then, we did like we keep talking about we did lose a lead in this movie. We lost the mom who was like a co-lead for half the movie, right? So it's like still a main character is a one and done, a great character, but a one and done. And I'm not sure if it's in your rapid fire notes, but I have to bring it up because I feel like we talked about in sections. We probably got distracted by the alphas, but Ray Fiennes is fucking incredible
That
in
was
this
my
movie.
last like
Yeah,
non Jimmy note. Yeah.
Everything about that character, I would take maybe not a movie, but a nice short 25, 30-minute film. The setup of him, of how they met him, hundreds of bodies, and he looks up just that wave. And I think in my mind, while I'm watching, I'm like, okay, the big reveal is he's not gonna be psycho, but like they sure set him up like, yeah, I wouldn't talk to this guy either. It's just crazy, but all the stuff of like, yeah, he has the iodine all on his body, how quaint he is, how knowledgeable he is, not only in just like the medical field, but in life and everything he's been through. How, he'll find people, burn them up, but he's doing it to tribute them. And, all these people have thoughts
Yeah.
or they spoke. Like, it's this thing where it's just matter of the fact of, hey, this person's dead. I got to go burn their skull and wipe their skin off. But I'm doing that to immortalize him in a sense. And this character, I'm so glad he was alive because when he got picked up at the Alpha, I was like, don't you dare fucking Predator spine rip him. I was like, don't you do it, especially because the second one's called Bone Temple. I imagine that's going to be Taron Johnson's first stop in the second movie is going to the doctor
Right.
because he would have some info. But I was like, man, and I so badly want to see him and Cillian Murphy interact. Like this character, one of my favorite characters this year, even this decade, as far as just like, and he's not in the movie that much, but no notes, like negative notes for Ray Fiennes, just home run. 10 out of 10, loved everything about the character writing, so good, and yeah, very emotional and great beats.
Yeah, They do such a good job at building up to like he is gonna be a whack job, but like he's just like a little like philosopher when when Spike meets him. Like he teaches him memento mori and just like all this like really like he doesn't seem like he is like trying to get something out of Spike. Like he's just like actually, well, yeah, you're here. How can I help you? And like just being open to like accepting like even having them there and he's something of just like just like a weird version of like just a chill Buddhist man.
Yeah, because he's
It's
still
just
holding
like-
a decapitated head while he's giving you his life
that's
lessons.
what I mean.
Right?
It's like okay, yeah,
this?
he's
Eric.
definitely got a couple screws loose. The fact that like I don't know, I couldn't help but just it was really like emotional sequence, but I like actually just chuckled when like Spike is just he's like morphined, realizing that he's losing his mom, and Ray finds like here we go find a good place for her. And it's just like her perfectly clean skull. It's just like, okay, I guess like that's goodbye. She's completely gone now. It's just like a polished skull. It's just like a like wow, okay, that really just happened. And even when he's doing it to Eric and like he he throws him in the roaster and the fucking Traeger grill smoker gets them all seasoned nice and then pulls them out and he's just like rubbing like brain goo off of the skull. It's like going out off into like
With his bare hands.
into the river that like
Yeah.
isn't that just where Jodie Comer was like sipping water? Like who else is
That
just
baby was drinking brain juice. Yeah.
maybe that helps with the lack of milk, the brain juice has some nutrients in there. But yeah, I really wanted to just know more about I think what is going on with the Bone Temple and stuff like that. And like I guess yeah, like you said, Travis, like he is just doing it to honor these people, but like I kind of hope there's more than that. Like I don't know. It just seems like such a bizarre thing to do that like
Really?
he's just living on his own.
But what else would you do? For me, I guess it's like the cancer thing where it's such like a simple answer. But I think the Bone Temple could be, like I said, the point of some stories popping off, like a location that they got to get to, but I don't think it's gonna be, where the crows are residing or anything.
Yeah.
But it's like, what else would you do if like no one wants to talk to you because you're this fucking weird doctor guy, and he obviously
Because you're
feels
doing
this
that.
What? You are doing that, yeah. But it just, I guess that's what he lives for. He's giving these people, some sort of, I don't know,
Yeah.
an homage to the lives that people did lose for this terrible thing that's going on. So, but the second movie is called The Bone Temple, so it does have to have, I imagine, some stuff. Maybe they just fuck it up. Maybe Aaron Taylor Johnson just messes that whole thing up. I don't know.
I think knowing that it's called the Bone Temple like made me think that of like, okay, let's get into the nitty gritty here. We have Ray Fiennes who's like killing this performance. He's looking orange as a fucking orange, and like I love this. All the dialogue is really good. I like his dynamic with Spike. And then he's like then when Alpha comes in, grabs his spine, I'm like, holy fuck, please don't kill this
It's
man
over
right
for
here.
you.
And it's not, and then he's like, yeah, see you next time, and just sends him off on his journey. And that's where I'm like, really? Okay, yeah, that's more setup for the next film. And it just seemed like because we had consecutive moments like that, whether it's with we're gonna get to the Jimmy stuff, but like even Samson, like I want to know more about the fucking the infected and like what the hierarchy is. Like, is it just these little there's just a couple alphas out there that just have their own little crews, or like are they actually forming like a village or something? And earlier on when they're camping out, Aaron Taylor Johnson and Spike, and they see the fire, like I was hoping that was actually infected, because I'm like, let's get into it. Like we were already getting what was probably my favorite like my favorite shot in the entire movie is honestly when like I was alluding to in the spoiler-free section, when they're going on their mission, and you just have that like chant. I don't even know what the fucking words were, but like it was in the trailer, and it just splicing in like the red scenes of like the infected and their glowing eyes, like eating
those
the deer.
shots were crazy.
I'm getting goosebumps
That was very
right now
Outlast.
just thinking of it.
Very
yeah,
Outlast.
very Outlast, and like
yes.
just like I said, like very like The Witch is what it reminded me of. Just this like cultish like activity in the deep woods, and I wanted to get into that, and we just never did. So I think it was just like multiple, in my mind, build up for Bone Temple stuff, and I mean it got me excited. I am definitely ready to get there, but I couldn't help feel wanting more. But I'm just a glutton. I just want all of it right now. I could have done it double back to back, 28 years later into
get
the
me in
Bone
there.
Temple. Let's go.
Yeah. I wonder how we'd feel about this character in that sequence in general. If just we didn't know the title of the second one, right? Like, I think if I coming out of this without knowing that title, I think we all thought, oh, that was a cool spot that we went to. Okay, I wonder what they'll do in the next one. But now it's like, okay, we're gonna go back there for some reason. I think what you said, Travis, makes a lot of sense. Of obviously his kid was talking about going to see
He's
this
not
doctor,
insane.
and the mom's not there anymore. So
Well,
it makes
the
sense
note,
that
too.
that would be the next spot.
He name drops in the note. Remember, he says, I met the doctor and he's not insane. So same thing of like, and I actually don't even, I think they put two and two together. I don't actually recall in the note if he said that the mom was dead. I don't know if he said that. I'm sure Aaron Taylor Johnson would infer that with everything that's going on, but I don't remember narration of like, oh, well, she had cancer and this and that. I guess Aaron Taylor Johnson kind of already knew that, right? So maybe again he didn't have to say it, but I just think that would be their
Feels
stop.
like a detail to put in there for sure.
I personally would, but
yeah. I think what I last thing, because you guys mentioned most of the stuff, but yeah, I think one thing I really liked about the doctor is just how dramatic he was. Like, so much of this feels like a theater performance to an extent, and I think it's probably because he's just been chilling here on his own for so long that he's just kind of been thinking about like the things he wants to say when he finally does meet someone. Obviously, he did mention as much. He's like, I've been waiting 13 years for someone to ask me this. And then he's like, okay, now it's my time to shine. I don't have the cue cards. I got to get this right. But he's like just such a confident character. He just nails it. He's speaking in this dead language, but it sounds beautiful. He's like, just seems like he's totally enlightened and totally at peace with the world and where it's at. And he's like found a way to live and thrive, which is totally different than like most people who would just try and find like a piece of shelter, build like a big ass wall and just like live. But he's like trying to do something very different, and I love how not precious he is about it too. Like, a strong gust of wind will knock over half those towers, but he says that he's like, the this is how it is, but like, the elements are constantly like changing things and can knock some of this out, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be final. We put this stuff here, but death, it comes for all of us at some point. And the same thing with like these monuments too. Like, they don't have to be any more permanent than like a human life. And so, I just think he had such a weird ass worldview. He obviously be covered in the iodine and looking super weird and freaky. Just like once again that confidence with Samson, right? To get to shoot him, but then to walk right up to his face and like
Yeah.
eyeball
How
him,
you doing?
like this guy who's murdered probably hundreds of people. But he's just perfectly confident because he is something of a scientist, right? Like he's got this down to like a perfect ritual at this point. And so that's just such a weird, unique perspective to have in a world like this. So whether or not he's just like a trip along the way for ATJ in the next movie, or if we go deeper into this character, I'm super down for whatever we get next for Ralph Fiennes in this Bone Temple movie.
Yeah, and it's just refreshing because it kind of goes back to, again, not to shit on that movie. I don't think I failed it, but like 20 weeks later, didn't really have this. In 20 Days Later, they kind of talked about that with the father and the daughter, and Cillian Murphy brings up, like, having somebody. And those, like, hit on moments of, okay, we have life here. What are the things we can do to enjoy? And that's, finding yourselves with other people. But then Ray finds is the end of that of like, well, there's always the end of that journey, but you still got to still appreciate life while you have it. Even if it's all this, weird stuff going on, you still got to find, whatever good there can be. And then obviously, later Spike has those flashbacks of his mom. So I like that there is a character that's trying to push that forward of this world you're literally in a bone temple that is surrounded by hundreds of dead bodies. But hey, try to celebrate what you can.
But he's not even coming across as like a preacher either, which I think is so important about it. He's just sharing his worldview. And he keeps it super honest. Like obviously when the kid's like, "Hey, how's my mom doing? Is she gonna live?" No, she's gonna die soon. Like he doesn't sugarcoat anything. He just tells it like it is, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm ready to talk some Jimmy if we're in Jimmy Town.
So as usual, well, we'll take our last ad break because we'll do Jimmy and then final thoughts, ratings, all like a Jess. We'll be right back. And we are back. So let's talk about Mr. Jimmy here. So in the, it's tradition, and now I didn't really think about this, but now it's happened 3 times. I hope 5, or I guess what are we at? 4 and 5, same thing. We need to make sure the 28 whatever series has a bang or opening. First one, we debated like how much we liked or whatnot, but still set the stage of fucking crazy monkey. That's it's at least memorable of that. Second one, you had the whole, the dad leaving his wife for the broom kid and getting on the boat and going off that way. And now this one, man, shout out to those, at least there's 2 of them, of the younger girl actresses, because a lot of those kids like, hey, look scared, cry. There's a difference of, act like that. And there was 2 girls that were to the right up in front, legitimately looked unsettled. I'm like, man, this is messed up. Because I was like, oh, is this the beginning of it they're going to hear? But no, this is clearly they know something's wrong. Like we talk about, they're watching Teletubbies. And man, they just look so feared. They throw a kid in there like, hey, just stay in here, don't do anything. And yeah, the opening scene is Rage Monster's busted in there. Jimmy does get away, but the rest of those kids and youths just get destroyed, and you see blood everywhere, and it's just like a savage way to start. When that was open, like, okay, we are when you're killing off kids in the opening, like, okay, we are in for it. And we got Jimmy ran away, which I was wrong with my prediction. I thought that priest was going to be the priest that Cillian Murphy bumped into the first one. I thought they're going to show us how that priest became, whatever, Rage Monster. But no, he's very, hey, this is Judgment Day. This is what's been happening. Son, this will help you lead the way. He gives Jimmy his cross, and Jimmy hides in a little, grate or something. He runs away. And we don't see him again. I'm like, who is Jimmy? Like, where's he going to be? And then, lo and behold, this very Danny Boyle out of nowhere, which, again, I've heard so many things about this guy for years. And now in the last year, I've watched Eden Lake. He was amazing in Sinners. And now Jack O'Connell is, because I'd heard he was in this, but now he's going to be the villain of part 2, I would imagine. And he has a gang of people that got tracksuits and jewelry, and as Spike, because we didn't talk about, Spike has told his dad, like, I'm not coming back, I'll be back at some point. He's just going to go off on his own, walk the earth, kills a couple of rage monsters, but a bunch are coming and say, oh, you mind if we help you? And they're doing backflip fights. They're looking like Marvel MCU character. They look like Daredevil in the 28 years later universe, and they shake hands.
They just came out of the trees.
Exactly. So Jimmy shakes hand with Spike, and he says, "Oh, I think we could be friends." And that's when they zoom in the cross, and it's that same kid. So clearly, lots has happened. So what do we think about this ending and the reveal of who Jimmy is?
Well, I'll throw one quick thing in with the opening sequence is that, like Jimmy gets cornered hard. He's up like in the staircase, and then like up the stairs there's Rage Monster. Down the stairs there's the lady who just got chewed up, his mom presumably, and then like other Rage Monsters. I really wanted to see how he got out of that house because I could not foresee a single direction he could have gone that would have resulted. Like there's a window there, but it didn't seem like he went through the window. So I was a bit bummed that we didn't actually see like how he got out of the house. Maybe that's a bit of a nitpick, but the ending sequence, I was not a fan of it. It was very weird and not in like the good weird that most of this movie was. I don't know. I guess it just took me out of it a bit because it just felt like larger than life in a way that the rest of this movie. I mean, you know, if you think about it, like the Doctor, he's a pretty larger than life character, and some of these other moments are. But I feel like there's a level of groundedness to it where this felt just really strange. And I feel like to me, it almost feels like a bit of a retcon. Like we've just seen how easily, if you get hit with one drop of blood in the wrong place, you turn. And with the way they're chopping up these,
That's fair,
these
yeah.
infected, and they're all melee combat, and they're doing like backflips, and they're like chopping heads off, and blood is gushing
Sawing
everywhere. Like
people, yeah.
to me, it makes no sense that they aren't like getting infected. Like one person isn't, just based on like the world of these previous movies. So maybe if you haven't watched those movies in 20 years, that wouldn't be an issue. But for me, it's like, God, we've seen how fragile people are and how easily they get infected, and just doing this melee combat like parkour shit just feels like a recipe for failure here.
They referred back to it though, even if you haven't seen the movies. Remember when the mom got blood on her and right away the son wiped it off and said like, close your eyes. Like, so they've still referred back to you can get infected by some liquids, so it's still there.
It bothers me so much with how little like PPE they wear in those situations. Though. Like
100%,
no fucking
yes.
safety glasses.
Yeah, like they put a
like,
bag on one its head, but then they're chopping its arms off. So it's like, well, I don't know if that really helps
Yeah,
much.
exactly. Like if you're doing that, like riot shield, you know, like you need some protection because spray
You need
could
those
be
masks.
anything.
Those
need a
masks.
bubble
they're wearing for
shield.
the
That's the
cult
only way.
masks. You need those all
Yeah.
the time. You know.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Curtain.
mean, I was just so surprised seeing this fucking velvet suit, tracksuit wearing motherfucker with the chains. And you said it was who from Sinners, Travis?
It's the guy who plays the main villain, Jack
Oh,
O'Connell.
no way. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
who
Okay,
looks
that gets me really
completely.
excited.
They gave him a bunch of bad teeth. They gave him hair because, like,
Yeah.
I've always heard
His
he's a great
teeth
actor.
deterred me.
Yeah, and I forgot about he was in Eden. Like I watched this year with Fassbender, but if I hadn't seen Sinners, I wouldn't be so excited. Like I think that's why I almost gave this a pass. I'm like, oh fuck, it's Jack O'Connell, you know?
Yeah, I was just so shocked by this point in the movie. It was just like, how is this adventure going to end? Like, how is Spike going to be moving on to the next? Well, he goes to fucking Rivendell, and Gil-galad comes out and fucking chops up some motherfuckers.
Gil-galad.
I was just so, I think I was just shocked. It seemed like such a comedic turn, honestly, with the moves they had, with the dress wear that they had, just the way, like, their little, like, fucking praying mantis like thing that they do at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Purple
I was
cobras.
just shocked. I was just shocked across the board. I mean, yeah, a lot of setup. And like even like the earlier scene, I really thought that and it might go this way. I really thought like the priest dude, like Jimmy's dad, was gonna be like a leader of the zombies because it's like they're coming to take me, and I'm like, okay, he's just a crazy religious guy saying this is Judgment Day. But then like when they infect him, it looks like the infected actually like follow him out of there, and I'm like, oh my god, this is actually like their hierarchy here.
He seems different than the other ones.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, he seemed very different, and it like made sense in that moment of like, oh, he actually knows this is happening. This is gonna be like a thing moving forward plot wise with the infected, that they're gonna be, I don't know, a coordinated, not necessarily a hive mind type thing, but like a hierarchy in that way. And because we just don't get any of that answered at all or followed up on, I still think there might be something there just with the setup of Jimmy. Maybe I'm wishful thinking there. But again, that was another thing where I'm like, we got introduced to that really quickly and just not followed up on. So that was just another add to my calling this a setup movie. But the ending was such a different vibe than the rest of the movie, and I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. They should have done a Sinners thing and just had that as the end credit. Could you imagine if like the movie is just its own tone? mid credit
crazy.
scene, Jimmy shows up. Like this would be, you would
Which
think
is
it's,
funny because some people argue the end credit for Sinners should just be the
Yeah,
ending of the movie,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
So it's kind of
exactly.
funny. But that's where I am with the asterisks of like I don't really. I'm fine. I'm of a few minds. I'm fine in the humor because Danny Boyle, like we saw a bit of this in 20 Weeks Later, but a lot of his movies have some very off the wall, just take you out of it characters. I think I'm fine with getting there. It's just weird to be the last thing that's left with. But I completely, maybe it's a cop out thing, but just because I think it is just we got to sell the movie, and if it ends in a way where Spike is in the woods on his own, there's enough people that will check out, be like, well, I've seen 28 years later, and that was that movie, right? Where that ends, and it's like, I'm not saying it might be the best way tonally to end because it's a little more comedic, but maybe it is just that. Who are these people and why do they act like it's such a weird ending, and it's a cliffhanger that I think it will get people that now when the Bone Collector comes out more on track, because I think it is a situation, or sorry, the Bone Temple, it is a situation
He is
where
collecting the bones to build a temple.
yeah, it's again, it's not Gorilla, but it's still it's a smaller. All of them have said, "Hey, this has to do well. We're not doing part 3. It's part 2's already filmed or about to be done." So I get it from that point of view, and my hope is that when all 3 of these movies are out, I'm gonna give it the same faith I gave Dune. That hey, when Dune Part 2 comes out, it's gonna completely make sense, and it did. And I'm gonna hope that hey, when we get Bone Temple and whatever 3 is, it's just gonna feel like one gigantic movie, like a Lord of the Rings sort of way, where yeah, it ends in a sense, but still, it's not over till Frodo destroys that ring, right? You can't end Fellowship with them all split apart and be like, well, that's the end of the chapter. It's like, no, if you're trying to do a trilogy and get the funding, you got to end in a very cliffhanger way, even if it makes this movie like feel awkward, So
Only when Jimmy throws his necklace in the fires of Mount Doom will it
Yeah.
all be over.
the Bone Temple Doom.
Travis, did the priest look like Hot Priest from Fleabag to you? I
It
feel
did
like
look
he
like
looked-
Andrew Scott. It
he
did look
did look
like
very
yeah,
similar.
which I would love to be in these. I would be great, but
I'll take him as a rage monster or a human. I'm
yeah,
down.
he's British, so get him in there. But yeah, very excited for it's just Sinner's hype, but very excited for Jack O'Connell. Very dynamic actor, and I'm very excited that they didn't show him any marketing or they with people knew he's in it, but they withheld him, and I think he's gonna be. I think it's gonna be similar to the army camp in 28 Days Later, but this time it's gonna be interesting, not kind of boring. I think so. Yeah, Taylor, what do you think of this camp? And then you can give your final thoughts too.
Sorry. What were we talking about?
Well-
Sorry. I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting.
Just having fun, man. Making movies, big adventure, having a great time.
Make a podcast.
I'm getting hit with the
That was the answer. I
count to
just
20
got-
seconds. Count 20 seconds.
Okay, so what did you think of the ending of the movie? And then you can go into your final thoughts and rating as this was
The alpha. No, I'm just kidding.
The placenta.
Placenta. The ending of the movie. Right. We're talking about Jimmy specifically. That's where I got lost.
Oh,
That's
no.
where I got lost. So Jimmy, I didn't think they were gonna bring him back. When we got to the end here and the character was in here, I completely caught me off guard because when I read reviews and ahead of time, the thing people were lightly touching upon was just how you get this great story and how things just get to the end and then boom, it takes this curveball down this sideways pathway, and it's like, what's going on? It turned a lot of people off. I was expecting something much worse, like a major character death after like the mom, like, okay, like the boy's gonna die, they're gonna kill the baby, something crazy. And that didn't happen. No, we got Jimmy coming back. He's got the upside down cross now. He's got this weird look. He's got like the ninja like crew guys now, like doing all those funky stunts. It was crazy. And I did not mind it. I thought, okay, this is just a faction that's just getting super zany and super weird. And I like the idea of Spike becoming one of them or them trying to bring him in and seeing where that goes. I really like that a lot. So yeah, I'm on board with that. And I'm excited to see where that's going to go. And hopefully it pays off because it could be done pretty poorly in the sequel, but we'll find out what's going on. I don't trust them, not at all. But yeah, the whole idea.
Do you mean the crew or the filmmakers?
The crew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because remember,
Don't
it is
trust them.
even though I really enjoyed Candyman. Remember, the next one's not directed by Danny Boyle as well. It's Nia DaCosta. So who did the Marvels and Candyman? Which Marvels? The Cree came here hopeful, but I really liked Candyman, so I'm hoping, still has some of that juice going on. So
The and the actor playing adult Jimmy, fuck, I Eden Lake. You mentioned that one. I did not realize.
he's the little shit kid in there. You've seen Eden Lake, right?
No, I haven't, but I can't remember
Okay.
her name. O'Reilly, I think 'cause she was in Sherlock Holmes. She's in Yellowstone.
And Fassbender's the male lead in that.
He's in there. Okay,
It-
yeah. So
it-
I'm gonna
it-
watch that. I added it to my list.
Yeah, it's same thing. It's like in a UK Europe set where they are going on vacation. Fassbender plans to propose, but it's Jack O'Connell, a bunch of and it's young Jack O'Connell, 16, 17, and they just decide to terrorize this couple and torture them, and it's full straight kind of not almost body horror, but there's lots of disturbing stuff. But yeah, he's like the ringleader of this fucking, maybe it's the same people, it's the same characters, but
Same ones, yeah.
And even that's what are these guys' motivation, when they're doing all these flips and chains? It's what is their goal? Because clearly where Spike's from is just to survive, right? Build a
Impress.
community.
Impress
The
Spike.
the doctor. I know
They're the
goal is
YouTubers
now,
of this
but-
world, maybe.
They could be,
Got a
yeah.
live stream going on.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, but
One of their
I'm
iPhones set up.
excuse me. I think it's just gonna be fantastic to see him taking on this mantle of main villain, kind of weird, kooky guy. Because after seeing him as Sinners, I was just on the rocky road to Dublin. Just
I don't think
I'm
we're getting him.
fucking there.
He could sing. He might sing, but
I hope
they
he does.
They
He's
should
got a
cut that
banger
if they do.
voice.
You don't want to draw too many comparison to Sinner ripoff stuff.
Turn
but-
this into a musical in the sequel.
Please don't.
Could you imagine if they get back to home base and that's where they reveal Killian? Killian's the leader of this fucking gang, and he's dressed up the same way. That would be
Well, that's
such a.
the interesting thing is we all
Oh.
assume Killian got rescued because of that plane.
I
And
didn't.
You didn't
Don't put
because
us-
back
no, I record on air. I thought they drove past him and a lot of bad shit happened to him.
Yeah, that's true. That's
what I
true.
think, yeah.
I feel, in my interpretation, I think back at then in the beginning of the outbreak and that first wave, they probably tried to rescue as many people as they could. And when the reseeding of Britain didn't work out, it's like, no, fuck it. You guys are on your own. America lost. It's all just, it's not looking good. So now I think it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, maybe Cillian Murphy is someone that was just stranded here and he's here the whole time, or maybe. That's probably the likelier story because the odds of him being someone on the mainland and going here doesn't make any sense. Why wait 30 years later to go back here from the mainland?
Because also, not to make this review any longer, but my thing is, in between 28 days and 28 weeks, when they were quarantined, people weren't allowed to leave that area, right? Even when the disease was gone, they weren't allowed to, I'm going to go to Canada. So even if Cillian Murphy was survived that moment, he would still be here when everything went shit again. So it's not he
If
got
he came
out.
back.
Came back from what?
Because, I mean, if he was rescued and brought to the mainland like all these other people were, then he may not have decided to go back to do the reseeding thing, repopulating of England, right?
Okay. Didn't the mainland get fucked up too, or no?
Well, France did, but then that all got rectified, right?
Right. Okay. So just this pocket, I guess. If he got to the mainland, I just feel I wonder if they'd start capping those people. The disease is back. You're coming from here. We don't want you in mainland. So,
I mean, England's pretty big. I mean, there's
yeah.
there's obviously a lot of people who never were even privy to that kind of reseeding plan, right? They were just
Yeah.
still out there building their bone temples and things.
Building their bone temples. Yeah, I was curious because I was looking at because they made a point. I know.
Another hour. Here we go.
Yeah. Well, at the start
Here's gonna
of
map out for you listeners, just so you know.
at the start of the movie, they talk about the Scottish hillsides, and it's okay, well, if you look at United Kingdom. Down here, England, where the virus is, and we're going way up north, up to where Scotland is. That's
Isn't
how
there
far
a thing
I
though
know.
of in the Scotland hills or whatever? Aren't they actually in Scotland?
Yeah, that's up north up here. So
Yeah.
I mean, the outbreak starts way in England here and London, and so it goes all.
So what
the
happened
way
to
up
Ireland?
north.
That's what I want to know.
Oh, they're having a good time over there.
They closed the bridges.
On the rocky road to Dublin. Look at that, fucking right there.
That's where he came from. Yeah. Fuck, as I was, because I scrolled up, I was gonna do something with the Fantastic, but I didn't. Looking at this picture of back in the day, Charlton Heston. Fuck, he was an alpha. Look at him.
Oh, he was.
Charlton Heston playing Apes.
too.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Taylor, score.
Score it
I'm
now.
gonna give this. I don't have any reason not to give it a 10 out of 10. I think while I like certain other things in a zombie movie, and this didn't have like the craziness of like World War Z or All Out War or anything like that. It gave me little bits of pieces of world building that I really like in a zombie movie that I don't get in other zombie flicks. There's so much going on here, and I think it did a great job for a sequel, and it really left the door open for me to be really excited for what's to come. And I think this movie tackles so many different beats of humanity and just emotion and family and trauma, and like I've said many times already, like the civilization, civility, and savagery and all that kind of stuff. I think it's great. I'm really excited to rewatch this. And again, if you've tuned into the spoilers review and you haven't seen the movie yet, I suggest you go watch the movie.
Yeah.
We didn't spoil anything.
Yeah. Kirkland.
Yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I do have some holdups. I'll do the classic Dune part 1 rating thing. No, I think I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 for now. Curious if it goes up or down on a rewatch, because it is just a fun time, honestly. Like when they're on their mission, like it's intense, and it's also just beautiful. Like some of the locations are within like the deep woods and everything. So yeah, it's a different zombie adventure as well. Like it feels different than traditional ones that I had, and especially like coming off of 28 days and weeks later, like us doing the retro. I thought those movies were pretty all right, you know, like definitely nothing special. So this was like a big step up, honestly, in quality across the board. I think for the franchise as a whole. So it's pretty sweet that they were able to really pull that off. And yeah, I'm hoping it's. Honestly, I hope this does really, really well at the box office, so we get that third film, because I do like a lot of the stuff that they introduced here, and if we don't get all of that answered in the subsequent films or film, I'm gonna be pretty disappointed.
Never see Killian ever, because they don't do the third one, you know.
I feel like I'm not like super tied to that being like,
Oh, okay.
oh, Killian's gonna be back. Like
One of the
okay.
greatest actors of our generation. That's okay.
I think it's
I'm
gonna
with
be
Kirkland.
good, but
Oh
like,
my god.
what does that do for story purpose? You know, like I want to know more about
He's just a
Ralph
guy.
Fiennes and his bone temples. You know.
Ralph. Wow.
He was our guy, though. You know.
He's great, man. He's great. Just let him. I guess he's in the Scottish Highlands. He'll just
Laying
be
there
playing himself.
somewhere.
Oh my god.
Mr. Muss.
Yeah, I love this movie. I think it's you know, it's a tricky one. I feel, you know, this series doesn't have enough sauce for us to do like a full retrospective ranking like we usually do for other
yeah.
rankings, but this is clearly far and away like the best one in the trilogy for me, and that's great, because I feel like a lot of the legacy sequels, that is not often the case. It's rare that you get one that's just like so clearly better than like the predecessors. But yeah, I feel like this movie, I don't want to use the word messy, but it's just there's so much going on here. It definitely has a bit of that like Dune 1 situation of like, I don't know, how are some of these things going to resolve that could change how I feel about this. And like I said, like there's a lot of things here, and there's a lot of things just like taped and grafted on. So, you know, I'm going to do something unprecedented here. I'm going to give this movie an 8 and a 10. So you can round that out to a
Wow.
9 if you want, or you can look at it as two separate scores. I don't
18.
care.
That's how
I
see
make
it.
the score, you can interpret it. So I'm going to give you two separate numbers there, and you do with it what you will.
I respect it. I sometimes
8
drop the
minus
double
10,
scores.
so -2.
There you go. Some people will read that as a -2, and you know what? That's fine. That's fine with me.
-2. Danny Boyle's fine at
Bring
the
up that map again,
podcast.
Taylor. Let's look at the map.
Oh boy, I wonder what the
Please,
GeekVerse
no more
boys think of.
pull-ups. No more pull-ups today.
No, what the GeekVerse
-2
boys.
for my favorite movie of the year.
Yeah. I directed this movie 20 years later. Yeah, 10. I've said everything I need to. Fantastic movie. My film of the year so far. I will be rewatching maybe Sinners again this weekend because Emily hasn't seen it. I'm excited because she really likes the 28 series, so I'm excited for her to see this. This one I cannot wait to put on.
Did she do a rewatch with you?
We watched
Okay.
them both together. 'cause
Is
it's
she
been
still
a while,
super hot on
so-
them? Likes them a lot?
I think she's pretty much in line with our thoughts.
Oh,
Like the first one, same thing. Like the ending is very meh, and the second one was like, yeah, it was fine. But I think this is, to me, it's just like I'm gonna try to underplay it because I just don't want to start for it's amazing. Don't worry, but I just feel like this is a whole new beast coming our way. But yeah, no, did not think I would anyway think this would be any point having not that piece. That's
I was just thinking of the Alpha again. The whole new beast coming.
That's gonna be me this weekend, but no, I think that I'm just in shock that even if it gets bumped, the fact that at one point I had it ranked number 1 and have it for multiple things in Golden Geeks coming up is a facet to good job to the entire crew, cast, and specifically Garland Boyle. You guys still got the juice, you still got the gasoline. Can't wait to see 2 and 3. Hope this continues. I'm now we're in the dangerous spot because I feel like Bone Temple's gonna have a hype that I don't know will match this, but we'll see. Maybe it will. I mean, we'll just get this great trilogy here. But I'm very invested in multiple characters now, including Killian. I want Killian back, and I can't wait. So we'll be back in the future, next couple weeks, starting July. Jurassic World, Superman, Fantastic Four, some big other juicy gasoline-filled reviews coming up. But unlike the room in this one, we don't pass out. We just thrive on it. We're like the alphas when we get the gas. So when you hear from us next, I love you, boring.